Mic check. Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. The final day of the week. I'm going to miss you all so much this weekend. I just now realized it, and it makes me very, very sad. Good to see Chatbot already catching some heat this morning. That is Jen's, people's least favorite creation from Jen was Chatbot, I think. Which reminds me, Jen, good morning.
Good morning. Well, I mean, if people would follow the rules, they wouldn't fight with it so much. I mean, it's really on them. So
that would have been a good guess, Nick.
Especially Swiss. He knows that if he types in all caps, he's going to get flagged. So, I mean, it's really on him.
What are all the rules that I always see people like saying, what the fuck, Chatbot? What's it blocking?
So it's all caps when people are trying to yell their point.
Okay.
Like they think that what they're saying is more important than anyone else. A ton of emojis. So I think it's like if you do more than 4 emojis. And
why are we stopping it at 4? What's the point of that?
People they'll just flood the chat with tons of them to take up a bunch of space.
That's probably good for me. I get distracted by emojis. That's probably a good filter. Yeah, you're right about that.
You see something like shiny and you're like squirrel. So
yeah.
But
how was your date yesterday?
The funeral was fine.
That's crazy that you took a date to a funeral. That's wild, but I love it. That is pretty on brand. Like that's the way to Jen's heart. Like
that would be.
What's your ideal first date? A funeral.
Yeah.
Open casket, please.
No, probably not because there's crying, and I really am not a fan of those type of emotions.
We've talked about that. I think you've answered this, but remind us again. When's the last time you cried?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
The crying
more than a year, you think?
No, probably not. I mean, okay. I probably have. I just suck it up really fast.
Yeah, just keep them in.
I bury my feelings and emotions like a real adult.
Yeah, for sure. That's a healthy thing to do. I love that. Yeah. Ronnie said 1987 is the last time.
that could.
What year were you?
Very possible.
Maybe I shouldn't know. You're 84?
I'm 83.
3. Yeah. That's crazy. You are old as shit. That's wild.
You're 2 years younger than me. Shut up.
It feels like a lot, you know?
Because I'm more mature than you.
It could be it.
That's definitely it.
There you go, Becky. You see, Becky cried this morning. I cry all the time. I don't think I cried yesterday. I don't think there was any tears shed yesterday. Basically, every day that I have my daughter, I cry. I think she just she's not much of a crier. She gets a little sensitive sometimes. But I'm certain that if she's just bored, she just does something sweet to make me cry. Because every time I cry, she smiles and then kind of skips away. I haven't figured out if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but most of the time.
Well, I mean, my spawn cries, and so it's, I guess, karma.
And it makes you mad?
It doesn't make me mad. It doesn't make me mad when she cries. I just don't do crying.
Kaya cried happy tears today, finding out going to be a grandma. Congratulations.
Yay. Exciting.
It's funny watching in the chat, the people that are I don't cry. And every one of them that I know, I'm yeah, that actually checks out. Based on everything I've ever seen you write in the chat, that checks out. No offense, Namaste. Yeah. No offense.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it is. There's this whole thing about being the eldest daughter.
Yeah.
And the oldest child kind of thing. Have you ever heard about what's it called? birth order traits.
Yeah, it kind of fucks with me because I'm biologically the oldest, but then in my adopted family, the youngest. So I've never figured that out.
I mean, I wonder how that. I mean,
I don't
I
know
would
if it's,
imagine.
yeah, I don't know if it's all genetic or if that's like
I
learned
don't think it's
behavior,
genetic. It's got to be like you're like living.
like conditions,
Yeah,
lived
it's got to be
experience.
a socialism. Yeah, because I mean, I don't think definitely not biological. It's just you're growing up in a house and you have different expectations.
I
So
also grew up with a older sister that was only 6 months older than me. So that was kind of like, and everybody liked her the most. So she was more the baby. That's not true. I was treated once I was in like my parents just gave up when I was in high school. It was really nice. I had very, very strict parents and they were strict with all the kids. But then my sister was a year ahead of me in school and she moved out and my parents just quit. Like they just started going to bed at like 7:30 and we're like, he'll figure it out.
well, that's being like the oldest daughter. I mean, that's probably part of the oldest daughter thing. Like women have different expectations societally. I was actually shocking. I was a good kid. Like I found my high school transcripts, and I had like a 3.8 when I graduated from high
Wow,
school.
that's not surprising.
I didn't I didn't get in trouble like with the law. I was in trouble by my parents all the time. My mom specifically, all the time. But you would have thought like I was out robbing liquor stores and
No,
stuff
you would
without.
no, I wouldn't ever think that. I would think, well, are you saying because of how they treat you? Because I would think you would be
Yeah,
doing way different crimes. I think your crimes would be very planned out.
yeah,
They would likely be vindictive.
more white collar crime. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and you'd probably have a team that was doing some of it for you, the stuff that you didn't want to get caught for. I mean, that's what I do. I don't know if you guys know this. Jen just tells me what to do. She runs this entire thing. She does the outline and she just says, dance,
I do not.
dance puppet, and I dance. So,
Yeah,
all right. Well,
dance, my own dance. But yeah, no.
did he
So
stay the night or is that why you were late? I didn't hear anything from you till later this morning.
you're
I'm
so
guessing.
dumb. You are so dumb. The dumbest of all.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Of course he stayed the night. Why would I ask that
Right.
question? We know Jen. Okay.
Silly question.
All right.
Anyways, well, we can get going. So, with your usual bullshit, we'll have Athena coming on a little later. She's going to be talking about a fundraiser, so she'll be on it here in a little bit. So, while we're getting started, we've got that gift goal that we need to hit each day. So, any of the pay links, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, help us knock out that gift goal so we can keep doing this each day. We do the show every day, Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1. If you're not already a paid member or subscriber wherever you're watching, please become one. So you can join us for members only events. We have a new one coming up on Monday. We're going to be watching the Manosphere.
Is that what it's called? Did we decide what it's
I don't
called?
know. I should probably.
I'll look it up. You keep doing your thing. I'll look it up.
If you guys disagree with our TV, you can come up, and how you do that is you message me on Discord. My Discord username is the same as the Venmo. So Jen with 2 N's, Deb with 2 B's, the number 1. Check out the link tree in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch. Jay's on Cameo, and we upload these episodes to Spotify.
It's called Inside the Manosphere.
Okay.
Which honestly, gay, right? I bet they hate that title. I bet they hate that title so much. You know, it came out and they're just like, that sounds gay, bro.
I probably.
Yeah.
So, what do you call a bra that you can't take off?
All of like sophomore, junior, senior year of high school, I think is probably what that was.
Close.
Okay.
A booby trap.
A booby trap. I was close on that one. Then I go watch The Office, and now I know you just twist it until something breaks. That's the idea. Greg said, I became an actual peepaw on April 3rd. Will no longer just be a slur from Jen. Thanks for the tech support from the fax team, Jen. Awesome. Congrats, Greg. We love Greg over here. Earlier this morning, Katrina sent in her Antifa dues, which, if you guys know, Antifa dues are $5 monthly. It's no big deal. You can send those to me, and we'll get those passed along. And Jessica says, thanks, Jay and Jen. And thank you, Jessica. All right, I actually kind of got distracted right before we started. I know that might be surprising for some of you, but I saw some Harry Enton polling And then I forgot to put it on the outline, so let me find it real quick. I feel like we haven't seen Harry Enton for a while, but let's do... where is it? All right. First on the cost of living here. This is from March 19th, which was, I believe, yesterday.
You know, I would say that this is the most troublesome sign that I have seen for the President of the United States and the Republican Party so far. What are we talking about? Well, let's take a look here. Voters on Trump and the cost of living. You go back when he was reelected back in October of 2024. He was beating Kamala Harris by 3 points on the cost of living, right? Look at his net approval.
Ah, son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Sorry. I think I had made it all week without missing the video. 4 out of 5 isn't. That's 80%. That's a B minus. Thank you, Alter Ego, for the gifted subs. Appreciate that. Son of a bitch. We'll start it over.
You know, I would say
right after I get done calling Jen old too. Great timing.
That this is the most troublesome sign that I have seen for the President of the United States and the Republican Party so far. What are we talking about? Well, let's take a look here. Voters on Trump and the cost of living. You go back when he was reelected back in October of 2024. He was beating Kamala Harris by 3 points on the cost of living, right? Look at his net approval rating now. Woo! Down underwater we go.
Give me all of Harry Enton's energy on a Thursday. He did this on a Thursday. He had that much energy still on Thursday. This dude, if he's not high on life, then whatever he's high on, I'd like to get in on that.
His net approval at a record low, 41 points below water. You can't win when you're at 41 points below water on the cost of living. Kamala Harris couldn't win. The Democratic Party couldn't win. And I'm here to tell you that there's a better chance that I root for the New York Yankees than Donald Trump and the Republican Party winning when he's 41 points below water.
This was March 12th to March 16th. We could see even more, gas prices rising.
Yeah, for sure it's gotten better since then. For sure, for sure it's gotten way better than 41.
The prices go up in the coming days and weeks with the Iran war, so this number could get even worse. What about independence?
Yeah, what about independence? You think this 41 points below water is bad? Take a look at independence. It's even worse. I mean, 60 points underwater when it comes to Trump and the cost of living among independents.
Yeah.
Again, a record low. You go back to October of 2024. He was winning on this issue over Kamala Harris by 11 points. Look at that switcheroo. That is a 71-point switcheroo in the wrong direction for Donald Trump when we're coming to the cost of living and independence. And this, my dear friends, is just a political nightmare waiting to happen for the Republican Party come the midterm elections.
I mean, why? Do people really care about the cost of living?
You know, yes, they do, Mr. Berman. They do care about the cost of living. Why was Donald Trump...
Last I checked, it was a hoax.
...reelected back in 2024? It was the cost of living. It was the number one issue, okay? Number one issue, top election issue, cost of living. 38% of Americans said it was so back in October of 2024. Look now, it's the same percentage. If anything, it's a point higher, though it's within the margin of error. 39%. Simply put, I am saying this loud and proud. You cannot win an election when you are the incumbent party and the top issue is the cost of living and you're the president of the United States and your net approval rating on it is 41 points.
It is wild to see that number, just a slight change. That's bizarre. That shows you what world MAGA lives in. Doesn't matter what changes. They're just like, this is all going really fucking well.
Underwater? I mean, you're with Greg Louganis at this point, and with independents, 60 points underwater? What, are you kidding me? You cannot win. If you're the president and you're the Republican Party and you're not addressing this issue, wave adios amigos, goodbye, see you later, your House majority, and may very well be your Senate majority as well.
You're saying
well, what you could do is you could start a war, try and distract from it. It won't help the cost of living any, but give people something else to talk about. Yida said for Antifa Southern District Leader dues, thank you. And I appreciate that. Yeah, if you are a district leader, the dues are $10. So thank you, Yidis, for the $10. If you're just a regular Antifa member, it's a $5 monthly donation.
Loud, which is very unusual for you.
I know,
Eric.
it's extremely unusual. A lot of coffee this morning.
Let's talk about inflation and what the prediction markets are saying, what direction they see it going.
It is weird. It's still, I haven't decided if it bothers me or not that there's prediction markets. I want them to go away. I think that they should definitely not exist. But they do seem to get a lot of stuff right. So I'm always a little hesitant to cover it, but it's here, so we'll cover it for now.
Going forward.
Yeah, okay.
I do have one bet in the prediction markets currently, and that bet is that Donald Trump will resign before the end of his term. It's the only bet I've put in on the prediction markets, and it'll pay off handsomely if it happens. And I feel good about that. I feel good about rooting for Trump to resign.
You talk about 60 points underwater. You talk about 41 points underwater overall. You know, when we're talking about what the prediction markets, Kalshi prediction markets have, chance marches, CPI.
No, he cannot cancel elections if we're at war or an excursion.
Year over year is above February's 2.4%. It's going in the wrong direction. 95% chance that inflation rises in the month of March. So you got the number one issue that is.
I mean, that's what Jerome Powell said too yesterday. Jerome Powell said that we expect more inflation. We're still seeing the effects of tariffs. We expect those pass-through effects to continue to take place throughout the next year, and then add that on top with gas. Like, yeah, we're going to see inflation. 95 might be low there.
Killing the incumbent party, killing the president right now, and it is going in the wrong direction with gas prices going higher. I'm just going to lay back on my Yiddish. Oy vey, oy vey.
Yeah, no, the political cost of this could be going up soon. Harriet, and thank you very much for this.
Thank you. I'm going to go get some more cappuccino right now.
You need it.
Yeah, you don't want to crash. Damien said, have an amazing weekend. Thanks, Damien. Axe says they're asking for $200 billion. Afghanistan was only $800 billion over 20 years. Is that real? That number's right. Damn. This is just not a serious administration. I'm tired of taking people, like trying to pretend that anybody that still supports them we should take seriously. I've no idea what the fuck you're watching. Let's talk about affordability real quick. I'm going to skip, actually. Whoever has the outline today, I'm going to go to number 3. But I mentioned this quote or this clip yesterday from a radio station in Minnesota. This is Michelle Tafoya. You might know that name if you're an NFL fan. She was a sideline reporter for a lot of years, really good sideline reporter. Now she is a very dumb Republican, and she's running for Senate in Minnesota. And this is how Republicans across the board are addressing affordability now.
What are some of the big issues on the minds of voters there in Minnesota?
Well, yeah, look, we've all been told that the word affordability is key, and it is. And right now, I would say, look, we had gas prices at a 5-year low, and we were really enjoying watching that. And now here we are in a conflict in the Middle East, which is bringing gas prices up again. I know it's frustrating, and I know it's hard for people.
Thanks, Mindless Pursuit.
What I would say to them is we've lost some service members over there who have put their lives on the line to protect us, to protect the region, protect America's friends in the region. We can all, it used to be during the past wars, especially World War II, Americans got behind our servicemen and women, and we did little things to show our support for them. We collected metal, we recycled stuff, aluminum, so that we could, help in the war effort. I think right now
Yeah, that was in like the 30s and 40s. We don't need to do any of that. What if we just didn't go to a war that made no sense? If we just did that. I know it's frustrating, guys, but we have to be there for some reason. Illusion said, likely won't see reporting on economy all summer. Yeah, not a lot.
he's just kind of keeping a stiff upper lip. Maybe you take one less trip to Starbucks, and so that gas goes a little further until this thing is over and these gas prices come back down again. Let's just try to be patriots about this. Whether you agree with it or not, we're there. And we've got to support our men and women in uniform. That's a big one.
Yeah, just support them, guys. When the government drags us into mindless wars, what if we just ignored that and didn't worry about how much money it was costing us, didn't worry about the rising prices? What if we ignored everything and just instead chose to be patriotic? Just talk about how great the military is instead. That's what Hegseth's been doing all week. That's what all these Republicans are stuck with now. They just have to sit there and tell their constituents, suck it up. Even though at the beginning of that, she's like, we had gas prices at 5-year lows. Yeah. Well, why'd you fuck that up? So we could go bomb Iran? What was the point of that? I don't know what the point of that was. We're still waiting. Okay. Kim, I'm actually going to go back to one. I didn't cover those yet. But Trump today had the Navy football team in the Oval Office. And he did it. He'll cover it here in a second, but he did it. He brought them in to sign an executive order to force other teams not to play football on the same day as the Army-Navy game, which I think is maybe like December 8th or something. Maybe it's like a certain Saturday in December. I can't remember. So he brought them in as props for that. But while he brought them in for props, Donald Trump can never miss an opportunity to turn everything into a campaign event and brag openly about being a fascist while the people that are with him applaud loudly. And those of you that are Donald Trump supporters here, you will also applaud at this loudly. But Donald Trump took a minute to brag about how he is undermining and trying to cancel out the First Amendment.
Is truly one of the most special occasions in all of sports, but in recent years, the college football playoff expansion has encroached on this sacred 4-hour time slot traditionally reserved for Army, Navy. So, what did I do? I went out. I don't know if I could have pulled it off. I have much more power in my second term, don't you think? What do you think?
You're not supposed to get more power regardless of what term you are in. Your power is granted to you by the Constitution. See how they just openly do fascist things now? They just openly are like, hey, I have more power now. How did you get more power, sir? How did you get more power? The Constitution didn't change.
Would you say, Brendan? Much more power. First term, I don't know if I could have gotten away with this, but what did I do? I went out and said, I'm going to sign an executive order to ensure that the second Saturday in December is preserved.
He thinks you level up during the second term.
Exclusively. Nobody's playing football. Not Ohio State against Notre Dame. Not LSU against Alabama. Nobody's going to play football for 4 hours during that very special time of the year in December. It's preserved forever for the Army-Navy game. Now, if you don't...
Oops. Super important stuff. I don't give a shit about any of that. Maybe some people do. Maybe veterans care about that we preserve that day for Army-Navy. I don't really have an opinion on that. But it's also an executive order, so it basically does nothing, which is most of Trump's executive orders. It's just performative. Then he moves on. And then we get real authoritarian here.
I also want to thank FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, perhaps the most powerful man in this room. You are doing some job. He's trying to keep the fake news. He's trying to make the fake news real and respected again.
By firing, putting pressure on TV stations to fire comedians who are not news, they are comedians. And if they're not nice to Donald Trump, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr puts pressure on them to get them fired. He's also approving a ton of deals that make sure that any news that you watch on TV, it has no aura of independence. It's just one company owning everything. We'll get to that here in a minute. They're creating a monopoly. They are silencing left-wing voices, and they're claiming somehow that this is like in defense of the First Amendment. Like, the First Amendment is obviously freedom of speech and freedom of press. How can you say that freedom of press, and freedom, by the way, of press from the government is fixed by the government telling you what you can and cannot cover? This administration has gotten rid of any serious journalist out of the Pentagon and replaced it all with bootlicking Donald Trump dick riders instead. I just, again, you Trumpers, what the fuck are you watching? I wish you would be more honest. I wish you would just say that, like, the Constitution really isn't important to you. Freedom of press isn't important to you. If we could just get on the same page there. I'm tired of you guys being offended by us saying that's fascist, and then they do fascist things. You're like, that's not real fascism. Real fascism is when you mute our comments in the chat here. Yeah, that's a good point, Sin Lu, Texas, that taking over the media is part of the Seven Mountains mandate. That's true. It's been their plan all along. This is just an attempted Christian nationalist takeover. They don't want you to have freedom. And eventually, they don't want you to have freedom of religion. 2,500 more Marines deploying in today. Awesome.
which is not an easy job, but you're doing a really amazing job. First time that's happened in 25 years. So I congratulate you and everybody in the room. Everybody in this whole country is watching what you're doing, and we appreciate it. When a man can get elected in a landslide.
Barbara, we didn't ask if you were offended. We asked if you cared. And I think that, like, everybody pay attention to Barbara Buss there. I think this, like, encapsulates the problem that we have. You are so blinded by Donald Trump, and you are so loyal to Donald Trump, that you can't hear questions. You have no idea what I just asked you. You just came up, you're like, I'm not offended. Yeah, nobody asked that. We just asked if you liked freedom of speech. You should have said, no, I don't like freedom of speech. Yes, I do. No, this isn't an attack. But instead, you're like, I'm not offended. I love Trump. That is bizarre behavior by a lot of you.
We appreciate it. When a man can get elected in a landslide.
Not a landslide.
Winning think of it, 7 swing states, win them all. We win the popular vote.
Super important to say this in front of super important to say this in front of the cadets there.
A tremendous amount. We win the counties by 82 or 84%.
Which is not unusual for Republicans. Republicans win more counties.
And I got no good press. Think of it. Only one thing. That only means.
What does that mean? How could he possibly say he got no good press? Is he not, like, he watches Fox News all the time. He had the #1 podcast in the country singing his praises. He got way too much good press. Way too much. He just didn't get universal good press. So now he's going after anybody who didn't give him good press. What were they supposed to say? They cover the news. He won the election. What were they supposed to say? He won and he's God?
One thing, these people are not respected. They're just not respected, and we have to have a press that's respected. When you can win an election where they say that I got 94% bad press.
I don't know where the fuck that number comes from. He just is such a victim. Fox News gets more views than CNN and MSNBC combined. How? How do they have like 50% of the market and he's claiming 94% bad press? You know, also, who cares? What kind of grown adult man spends all their time complaining about how people don't say nice things about them? This is just bitch shit. Forget fact checking all the dumb shit he's saying. Why do you guys respect a man who spends so much of his time whining in front of the cadets? I've brought the cadets in here to hear me whine. That's what we're doing today.
Think of it. The other side got 94% good press. When they can get 94% and you win in a landslide, that means the press is not respected. People have no confidence in. So you're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah. What? Again, to Brendan Carr, who is creating monopolies and trying to silence any voice who makes fun of Donald Trump. But alarmingly, and this will be challenged by a bunch of states, but I guess not alarmingly anymore. We're used to it. Under this administration, quietly, they have consolidated power and they're buying up all the news organizations so that their intent is that we become North Korea. Now, I do want to say this too. This administration, Donald Trump, Brendan Carr, all the people that wrote Project 2025, one thing that they don't realize is that they have spent decades assuming that the reason people tend to lean left, just generally, is because the news organizations trick them into leaning left. That's not true. The data doesn't really back that up. Because as CNN shifted to become more moderate, they lost viewership. As CBS has started like cutting deals to make things better for Trump, and they've gone after universities and they've turned into a Zionist propaganda machine, they've lost viewers. So this idea that like they think that if they control the media, then everybody will change their mind, but people just find other media. Like that's why new media is growing. independent media is growing. It's not. I don't really. It's alarming that that the people who support Trump don't see it for what it is, which is an attempted authoritarian takeover. That's kind of alarming, but I don't think it's going to have the impact that they hope it's going to have. I think the impact is going to be much smaller than they would hope. But here's Kyle Clark from Colorado to explain what just happened to his channel.
Just approved the sale of this station, 9 News, and its parent company, Tegna, to Nexstar, the parent company of Fox 31 here in town. Nexstar has previously said that multiple stations in the same city will be combined. President Trump backed the deal to enlarge America's biggest owner of local TV stations, saying it would, quote, help knock out the fake news. Nexstar has declared itself the anti-fake news and celebrated today's approvals from the FCC and Department of Justice by expressing gratitude to President Trump and the head of the FCC. Nexstar and Tegna have said that the acquisition will allow the company to better compete with tech companies and, quote, increase advertising opportunities for local and national.
I don't know what that means. Somebody want to explain what this means, what they're saying?
Acquisition will allow the company to better compete with tech companies and, quote, increase advertising opportunities for local.
He's talking about like social media? I don't know what he means by that. Laura, this is Kyle Clark, right? Last name's Clark, I think. Yeah. He's out of Colorado. He is one of the best journalists in the country. We show him probably more than any local broadcaster. And in fact, combined, we probably show him the most.
And national brands. Opponents of the deal have said that it will lead to newsrooms closing, fewer viewpoints on television, and increased costs for cable and satellite customers. Democratic attorney generals in 8 states, including Colorado, filed a lawsuit this morning in a last-ditch attempt to block the deal on anti-monopoly grounds. The lawsuit says Nexstar...
Ace Ventura, that you have a collect call from Brendan Carr.
Quote, pattern of newsroom closures is likely to consolidate newsrooms, eliminating independent sources of local news.
We would have fewer diverse perspectives offered. People would lose jobs. All the same time, rates will go up because of the fees that cable and satellite companies will be charged by a more concentrated market. That'll get passed on to consumers. This merger is bad news.
The antitrust lawsuit filed in California today says that the deal would allow Nexstar to, quote, gain significant control over editorial policy and have the power to suppress viewpoints and exclude voices that are essential to a robust political and social discourse. 9 News went on the air in Colorado in 1952, and the TV station was purchased by Gannett, the predecessor of 9 News' current owner, Tegna, in 1978. Apart from the general comment that multiple stations in the same market will be combined, Nexstar has not said publicly what will happen with 9 News or when.
Cool. Thanks, Pink, for joining the Dollar Train, as well as Sean and Johnny Longtrail. Good to see you, buddy. Johnny wants to remind you all, balls. Hey.
Hey, Athena and I think their username is Uppity. Waiting.
They're here?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give you okay. Let me pull this up here. I'll bring on Athena.
Okay.
Athena had reached out. Let me just bring this up. Yesterday about a fundraiser for displaced families in Akobo, South Sudan. So this is the GoFundMe, and we'll drop this in the Discord. So if you can find it there, but I want to bring Athena on to talk about this. I guess I'll leave that up there. And let's see. Scroll down here real quick. Oh, you're switching. I got to go to the other one, Jen. Oh yeah, Jen's on in this one.
I already brought you over.
Oh, I'm over there. Oh, okay. Athena, you here?
Yes. Hi.
Hey, and you brought guests?
Yes, I brought somebody who is from the region, from South Sudan. So
Okay, who's with you?
their name is Uppity.
Uppity, it's nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
All
Yeah,
right,
I wanted to talk about like the kind of the humanitarian side very briefly, and then Uppity could kind of give people some maybe background information, very brief, so that people can understand what is even happening in South Sudan, so that people know what has led to the humanitarian crisis. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Uppity, you can kind of briefly explain what is happening on the ground, and then I'll just kind of delve deeper into the humanitarian crisis and then why this GoFundMe is very existential. But yeah.
Yeah, sure. I think I'll give a little background to South Sudan. I feel like people know more about Sudan as a whole when it was one country. But during the first civil war and the second civil war, actually, this is where there was a lot of the Sharia laws that was implemented in the South. They would utilize the South's resources without giving a voice in the parliament to the South. There was a lot of you are African, treated as a second class, citizen, essentially, right? And so then you had these militias called the Janjaweed, and then you had parts of it with the government that was put in place by the Kazan, and they just 2 million people died in that second civil war. They would really weaponize food, and so there was a lot of famine, a lot of I want to use like friendly words, but a lot of graping, pillaging, slavery was even was utilized as well. They would steal women and children and put them into modern day slavery. So during this time, they fought back, right? And so this is where you had the SPLM. And so a little bit about South Sudan.
What's a SPLM? What does that stand for?
Sudan Liberation Front. So that was a part of it. Yeah. And so during this time, it just didn't come about. There were people's territories. So you have like tribes, you have the Dinka, you have Nuer, you have Shilluk, you have Equatoria region, like the Pajulo, the Dinga people. And it wasn't easy to come together, but they essentially did, right? And so they came together to make the SPLM. And so during this time, as things were coming about, there were culture clashes. And so a lot of it about the Nuer, which are currently being targeted right now, is they fought the British, right? The British came and they would burn things down. They would capture leaders and tribal leaders that were fighting in the revolts, because that's just a cultural thing of a foreign entity coming into your land and ruling over you with an iron fist, right?
Right.
And so after the British left and the Kazan or the Sudan government came into Khartoum, after that, the SPLM was made and John Garang arose. I don't know if anyone knows John Garang. And John Garang was, do you know how incredible you have to be to get people to come together and make you the mouthpiece? And so during this time, people came together and made the SPLM. But things went awry when John Garang wanted a one Sudan. 2 million people died. And so the Nuer people were like, well, it cannot be one Sudan, because 2 million of us have already died. We have already gotten allies, so we can separate. This is a separation movement. This cannot happen. And then he became a vice president during Omar Bashir. Omar Bashir was the one that put in place the Janjaweed, who are now currently the RSF and the SAF, that were raping and pillaging and killing and doing everything in the South. And so the clashes came about in this. So in 1983, John Garang's militias that they had and Riek Machar's led militia, they fought. And so Nuer people died. And then again, they fought again in 1991. And Boer, the militias again died, and Dinkas died in that. And so this is the rift. This is the beginning of a rift where there are clashes of how you move forward within this rebel group, because it was kind of like a spit in the face, like you're a vice president of, a regime that's killing us. And so unfortunately, John Garang, he passed away, and then there was a transitional government. And in this transitional government, Salva Kiir just elected himself as a leader and promised that there would be an election. So elections are supposed to be 4 years, right? That is the presidential term that is set within the Constitution of South Sudan. Then in 2013, Salva Kiir had accused Riek Machar of trying to get political power, right? And so they arrested him in South Africa, and they held an investigation. The South African president decided, or the South African investigation said, hey, there is no mutiny. We don't have any evidence of this. And so Salva Kiir took matters into his own hand, and he got Dinka, basically the people of his tribe, to go into is an ethnic targeting. It was an ethnic targeting. They decided that, hey, these people are dangerous and they are a threat to this new regime that we're forming. And so they implemented military in specific places. And so imagine, I guess, there are a group of people that live in a specific place, right? And each of those ethnicity, they live in martial law. They decided it's a crackdown. And so that leader got people from his ethnic group to go and be basically military there. And so that's in Bentiu, which is in Unity State. Oh, and they created states as well. And so in the states, it's like what is the United States?
They're going and acting as like a protective force. Is that what you're saying?
Essentially, they're but these military people are just one ethnicity, and then they create different states. So like there's like fracking, like where you create like maps, you revamp a map just depending on stuff. So in this, they created new states, and in the state, the leader of the state would be a person from his ethnic group, and then they would then put a person in power. So it's like trying to keep a group of ethnicity in line. And so during this time, they put military people like there, and these military people, it was anarchy. They would do a lot of cattle raiding. There would be a lot of crimes, and essentially there would be like martial law, right? And it happened where every Nuer person is living. And so this is post 2013 up until 2024. And so the White Army was a section of the SPLM that was already a separatist group, that the one thing that they want is just get away in our land. You cannot come into our land and rule over us with an iron fist. We fought the British, we fought the jihadists, and we will fight you too. That's literally their mind frame, right? And so when Riek Machar, who was like the opposition of Salva Kiir, when he was arrested in Juba, they wrote a letter and they were like, hey, you don't work in our interest. You're getting richer. We are living basically in martial law in our ancestral land by people who look just like us, and you're doing nothing. So they removed him, right? They said, we want nothing to do with you. He made SPLM-IO. Now, IO, he made this in 2017. And this was in Akobo, actually. This was the headquarters.
What's the
in
IO
Akobo.
for? It's IO.
I don't have the exact name for it right now, but but it's specifically a faction from a faction, and it is in Akobo where it's happening now. And so the same thing happened, and so they had a rift in that faction
it's in opposition. So
Right.
Sudan
in
People's
opposition.
Liberation Movement in opposition. There we go.
Yeah. Thank you. And so during that time, they removed it, and so it left Akobo and it went into Juba. And now this SPLM-IO is now not just Nuer people, it's Equatorians. Now the White Army is still in Nasser, right? It's in Nasser, it's near the Gambela region. It's essentially only in the Upper Nile. And the goal is to kind of come together to remove this, because Salva Kiir is now working with Uganda. And so he's promising, he hasn't paid the military, right? He hasn't paid them. He can only leverage people's regions. So he's leveraging that border between Uganda and South Sudan. And these are people's lands. These are people that live by the land. And essentially now you have Uganda there and they're encroaching on them. And so the people there are like, okay, we're going to help and we're going to remove you, because you're not only is your son, he has his family. It's like a high nepotism. His family has land there, which is essentially just giving these lands to people so they can start businesses. And then you have Uganda there. So they have now joined IO. And so now the hopes is to go into Juba and to get rid of the bases that Salva Kiir has put in, because he has allies. He has allies with Uganda, Kenya, the UAE, the West, and basically to maintain his regime. There has not been an election, and there has not even been a first election to make him president in the first place. And it's just a lot of martial law.
When we look at this map, and you look at, I've got it up on the screen, I know you can't see it, but when you look at the map of South Sudan, and we've covered some of the stuff that's happening specifically with the war in Iran, you know that as you go a little bit west, and you can see on the map here, you obviously have probably more water, more resources, more ability to farm. Is that what this is about? Is this about resources, like bringing with Uganda being here? Is that what the disruption is about here?
No, it's more so about how to control people. So the when Sudan was won, they found oil in the south. So where was this oil? It's in the Kordofan area near that border between South Sudan and Unity State. Unity State is Bentiu. Bentiu, before it was Unity State, is we lived by our regions, our ethnic regions. And so this is Nuer region. And so he's essentially leveraging the only thing he has to offer, which is people's land. The oil pipes were already maintained, right? They were already like implemented. And so it's like, okay, you guys, we have something that we can leverage, which is this land. But if you can help us remove these people, I mean, these people are fighting against our business. If you can just help me get rid of them, we can maintain the oil. We can maintain, there's a lot of diamonds, cobalt, and gold within Uganda, that area where the Didinga people live. And so he's just leveraging it in order to create a state where he can maintain control. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about, oh, I need this land, but it's about leveraging what doesn't belong to a single family and a single ethnicity, you know?
Gotcha.
And so it's like removing the threat. And that's where the ethnic targeting comes from.
My goodness. Okay. All right. Hey.
Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you so much, by the way, Uppity, for all the details of the background, the history of South Sudan. And currently, the president is basically, if I'm not mistaken, attacking Nasser and Akobo because he's accusing them of being or suspected supporters of his opposition, which is mature, right, Uppity, if I'm not mistaken? That's why he's targeting these two cities.
Yes, that's the thing is they're saying that this region is fighting against this regime, and so we need to, they've accused, their justification for bombing the people, saying that they're using civilians as weapons, like human shields, essentially, and so that's why they bombed them. And they gave a heads up.
I've never heard that before. Nobody ever uses that as an excuse to bomb innocent people. Interesting.
Yeah, human shields. Who uses that talking point, right? Yeah. 100%. But so this particular fundraiser that's being raised is to raise like essentials for civilians in Akobo. So what they did was he told civilians in Akobo, which is it has a population of about 270,000. And was already hosting about 80,000 to 82,000 internally displaced people. And they basically said that they had to all evacuate while he's attacking them. So this current fundraiser is to kind of give these people basic essentials. So food, medication, blankets, clothing. So it's specifically for people in Akobo. They received an evacuation order on March the 6th, 2026. So somebody, David Yambio, who himself is South Sudanese, he is the founder of an organization called Refugees in Libya. Great organization, by the way. So he's the one who also reached out because he is on hunger strike until the goal is met, basically. And currently, I think about over 80,000 people, or over 100,000 people are actually displaced from Akobo alone.
Jesus.
It's horrible. And also USAID cuts severely worsened the situation in South Sudan, right?
Yeah.
So about 70% of the population were dependent on aid, and nearly 6 to 7.7 million people, which is about half of the population, already face acute hunger. And because the World Food Program operations, they kind of faced a $400 million shortfall because of USAID cut as well, and because of American funding cut. It is basically leaving a lot of children malnourished and untreated. 1 in 2 children are severely affected. Imagine that. And USAID cuts have also led to clinics being shut down. It has caused deaths from cholera, from malaria, from tuberculosis. Over 800,000 children have lost nutrition care. And a lot of local groups, including Doctors Without Borders, had to evacuate from Aqaba as well because of these evacuation orders. So Oxfam had to scale back their operations by 70% in certain areas. UN appeals hit just 41% of funding. So it's just a complete disaster in a country which is the world's youngest country. It's a country that has largely been isolated, a country that is also currently struggling, and where about 70+% of the population is dependent on aid. So this GoFundMe, I think £11,000. I think the one of the organizers is in the UK. That's why it's in pounds, by the way. The goal is 11,000, but it would actually be better if even more is raised, because of just the need. I mean, you're seeing the photos. I sent you the photos. It's just an
I've been kind of
absolute
scrolling through those while you guys have been talking. I've had them up on the screen, so I think a lot of people have seen this.
So it is just an absolute disaster. The humanitarian cost of it all is an absolute disaster. And what's happening in Nasser and what's happening in Aqaba is also an absolute disaster. And as per usual, you have a lot of foreign intervention as well backing this government. As Apadi mentioned, you have the UAE, you have the RSF, which is the Janjaweed, the RSF, which is the entity that is committing genocide in Sudan currently. And then also you have Uganda, and then you have, of course, the European Union, you have the United States also involved. So it's again
by the way, people that have watched this show too, if you're thinking like you've heard about the RSF, we've covered that before, because that is a group funded, armed, and trained by Eric Prince, who used to run Blackwater. He has his own company now.
In the UAE.
And now he's headquartered in the UAE. But that is U.S. military turned private military who members of Blackwater have been convicted of unjust murders. They're a sick group, and this is now just an American mercenary who I believe has given up his citizenship, is now a citizen of the UAE that is supporting these attacks. So.
Exactly. And also, like, the UAE just recently received like $1.4 billion worth of weapons, which was authorized by the State Department in May 2025. So it's just causing a lot of havoc, supporting a lot of just genocidal people in the region to continue committing genocide. And so Sudan itself is very overlooked, but then South Sudan is even doubly overlooked, and not many people talk about it. So that's why I'm trying to raise awareness about this GoFundMe page. And if people could donate, that would genuinely be amazing. Even if it's $5, that's existential. I'm going to be hosting more lives about this as well. And if you can't donate because you can't pay your bills, it's also perfectly fine, but just share it maybe in your community, in your friend group, in your family group, and maybe you will find somebody who can donate. The link is also in the link tree in my bio. I know that, but Jen is probably already posting it as well. So
yeah, we posted it in the chat. It's in the Discord. Are you going to be live this weekend too, hosting?
Yeah, I will try to go live this weekend too, and especially with David Yambio. I'm trying to organize it with him, but also just the group chat I created as well, so we can kind of get together and organize a live as well. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Apadi, sorry, I think I cut you off. Were you trying to jump in?
Oh, no, everything sounds good.
All right. Is that your TikTok username, Uppity? Is that?
Yeah, it is.
How do we spell that?
UPPIDY.
There you go, Uppity. And then who are you now? You're Covey now? Athena? I never remember.
Covey, yeah.
You're Covey now. COVEY. Make sure you're following both of them. And then again, the link is in Discord. You can message a mod if you need to get the link if you're not in Discord. And anything else?
Yeah, is there anything you wanted to kind of end it with, Uppity? What you would want people to know, or?
No, it's just a very, very sad situation. And a lot of this, we with our ethnic group, it's a lot of us that are on the ground, a lot of the diaspora that's really, really helping out. So I'm really, really glad that, we're getting some help and kind of like really advocating, because it's a really, really, just the photos. Unfortunately, we have to document our own genocide. We have to document this in order for us to kind of, get ourselves together and help people on the ground. So it's really, really, it's horrible. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. There's also a link in my bio to the GoFundMe. That's it.
And the donations, that's going largely just towards like food, right?
Food, yes,
And
because these
clothing.
are makeshift camps. Yeah.
So not only food, it says that, hold on one second. It says gonna go to essentials. Hold on, they have it listed. Give me a second.
I can pull it. It's right here. Let's see.
So emergency food supplies, basic medical support, essential items for displaced families, and also assistance for vulnerable children. So that is what everything is gonna go to.
Perfect.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, so it's just, again, existential needs for people who are displaced currently, and they're displaced in the middle of nowhere. You could literally see the photos in the middle of nowhere. So,
well, Abedi, it was great meeting you, and incredible stuff. Thanks for educating us and for being here and for putting in this work. And then Athena, as always, you tend to find really really important things to cover and to help out with. I've always been a fan of yours. I've always been a supporter of yours. And this is, I don't know how many of these you've done, but I appreciate you always bringing things to light that we miss. And you guys are welcome here anytime you need to promote anything.
thank you so much. I appreciate you, Jane, as per usual. Thank you, Uppity.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Jen.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Mhm.
All right, everybody. So the link in the Discord there, if you're able to donate, do that. Looks like we're just short of the 11,000 pounds necessary. So great job, everybody, so far. And thank you, Athena and Abedi, for coming on. Let me check comments real quick, see if I missed anything there. Alfredo said, well, Trump found a way to raise our TV cost too. That was the story right before then. Yeah, remember when streaming was going to kill cable, and now when streaming is more expensive than cable when you combine everything? It's pretty cool. All right, let's get back into the show. Let me close a couple of windows here. Jen, did I miss any comments? Let me check your messages, and then I probably need to jump in there. Oh, you can drag me back in.
Yeah, I already brought you back over. So I posted the link to the GoFundMe in Discord under mutual aid. If anyone's looking for it, if you're not in Discord, I pinned it also on Twitch and YouTube for a little bit, but it's over there if anyone needs it.
Awesome. I got dog walked. I like that. If I was in a debate with Athena, that is how it would go. I would get dog walked. I agree with that. Okay. Let me jump back to the outline here. I want to talk about Fulton County. Do I want to do that? Yeah. We haven't had a ton of information coming out of this the raid that happened in Fulton County. If you remember, that is where Tulsi Gabbard went. We talked about it yesterday, but the FBI, and for some reason Tulsi Gabbard was there also, went in and collected the ballots in Fulton County, and nobody could really tell us why, but it was all very, very unusual. It was a Missouri judge that signed the warrant. The affidavit was all stuff that we had kind of heard before and that nobody had been able to prove. It was a very, very loose, I thought, warrant. And now Fulton County has obviously sued to get the ballots back. And because we don't really know yet what the Justice Department plans to do, that's where we're stuck. But this is from Joyce Vance's Substack. I'm a big fan of Joyce Vance. Check her out. But she did a breakdown of Fulton County's response, and it's really interesting. Said Fulton County did not mince words in its amended response to the government's motion to quash. A motion to quash is an attempt to prevent a witness from testifying. Here, the federal government wants to keep the FBI agent who signed the affidavit that persuaded a federal magistrate judge that the government had probable cause to seize Fulton County's ballots and other election records off the witness stand. Fulton County has requested the agency's testimony at the hearing on its motion to return those records. This is what's so bizarre about this story. The ability to get these records was based on the affidavit, sworn signed affidavit from an FBI agent. If you are going to take that FBI agent at face value, you should probably be able to cross reference, cross examine, and figure out if what they're saying is true. But the government then, the Justice Department said, we don't want to give you access to this FBI agent. We don't want them to be able to testify. So they pushed out a motion to quash to make sure that the person who testified to get them this warrant not be allowed to speak. The government had a great deal of authority to limit circumstances in which its employees can testify under rules known as the TUI regulations. But its discretion isn't limitless, and here, the county's challenging whether the regs permit this government to withhold this particular witness's testimony in these circumstances. It's also challenging the decision to prohibit the agent from testifying as arbitrary and capricious. Special agent's testimony, they write, is central to this motion. His affidavit, which misstated and omitted key facts that, if accurately disclosed, would have undermined any pretense of probable cause, provides the sole support for the warrant at issue. So their argument is he lied and he omitted facts. And if he was accurate, they wouldn't have had probable cause. So because this person lied to get probable cause, obviously we need to talk to him. The county also did something important here, not insisting that it was entitled to go on a fishing expedition when it questioned the agency, but instead voluntarily offering to respect any relevant privileges which might restrict the agent from answering some questions. The Trump administration wouldn't budge. That won't help their credibility with the judge, though. Fulton County makes the point clearly. It is, of course, a litigation advantage to present and rely on a witness while barring all examination by the adverse party. And respondent has offered no reasoned justification for it. That kind of raw opportunism, as well as respondents' shifting purported justifications for denying the request, is the height of arbitrary and capricious decision-making. This is why Trump didn't win any of these court cases in the first place. This is why regularly judges said you have no standing. If they give the totality of the evidence or the full picture of the evidence, it has been shut down in court over and over and over again. But they found this nice judge who is an election denier judge in Missouri, and I still can't figure out how the fuck this worked. But somehow a judge in Missouri then was able to sign off on this warrant so they could go to Fulton County and obtain these ballots. Again, they're not even telling us what the ballots are for. Tulsi Gabbard, who was there, is saying there isn't a national security component. I'm just curious to our friends across the aisle. Don't you think the government should have to tell us why they're seizing these things? Don't you think we should be able to cross-examine their witnesses to see if they're telling the truth? Can I make it larger? It's a weird thing. It does this like when... oh, yeah, there we go. Thank you. The county argues that the government can't use the TUI regulations to resist a proper civil subpoena about matters the witness signed an affidavit under oath, especially since the government previously agreed to unseal the search warrant. Even if they can... withholding the witness testimony is arbitrary and capricious. He could testify to the matters at hand, with DOJ still having the opportunity to object to any individual questions it deems improper. Declining to let him testify at all is transparently arbitrary and capricious conduct that seeks to substitute respondents' judgments for the courts. The Trump administration is just flat out saying, you're just going to have to trust us on this, and you can't cross-examine our witness. I think they're probably going to win this case. I said it when they seized the records. I don't know their plan. Like, we could make a lot of guesses. We could figure out like what they want with the voter rolls, what they want with the ballots. But it's already been investigated so many times. And everything they used when they unsealed the warrant has already been investigated and found to not be true. I've no fucking clue what they're doing here. But to me, what it looks like is the DOJ just doing what Trump asked them to do. I do think he honestly believes it was stolen because he can't accept losses. And this looks like the DOJ debasing themselves and embarrassing themselves just because Donald Trump told them to. Fulton County's made some technical legal arguments about when the TUI regs do and do not apply, and about its entitlement to a hearing that the government is likely to resist strongly unless it decides to change positions again. It would be well advised to work this one out, because the odd thing about this entire proceeding is that by resisting return of the records, DOJ is running the risk of exposing all sorts of internal information about its decision to obtain the warrant. So Fulton County is saying, give us our records back. You can't keep them. And if they decide, no, we're not giving them back, well, now you've got litigation. And now they have to justify why they're not giving these ballots back. And then that, like she said, is going to open up all sorts of discovery into their internal communications. And if this is what we think it is, an absolute witch hunt because of Donald Trump, then that's going to look pretty fucking bad for them. That could prove painful. The 2020 election has been litigated, relitigated, and its result confirmed. Given all of that, and the affidavit's reliance on a biased, discredited source to resuscitate the argument that something criminal happened, it's hard to imagine there was a legitimate concern the government was pursuing. Even if there was, the statute of limitations has already run, meaning the government couldn't charge a crime that occurred more than 5 years ago. So what would we do then? Like, if they find a crime, then what? Can't charge them. What is this? If the DOJ simply agreed to Fulton County's motion to return the records, the prospect of a hearing exposing any of what happened at DOJ would terminate. Fulton County would retake custody of original voting records. Federal prosecutors could be permitted to keep copies. Any valid investigative purpose would be served that way. It's just incoherent. Nobody knows what they're doing in Fulton County, but it sure as shit seems like what they're doing here is just doing Trump a favor. Get rid of Strangely Fragile. Go fuck yourself, Strangely Fragile. I saw all your comments during that. I'm sorry that helping people in other countries was so boring to you, but you can just leave forever. Can somebody just ban Strangely Fragile forever? We have no use for you here. Have a good day. All right. Let's talk about the new line that you're going to see over and over. I saw it at least 20 times this morning from the Republicans. As they continue to lie about the SAVE Act, this is what they're saying now. This is their new go-to. You'll hear it from everybody.
I am here today to say that if that is your argument, let's drill down on that. Because you can't rent a home, you can't go to work, you can't shovel snow in New York City without an ID, and you can't get in.
I just want to go back and watch this. She thinks she's killing this. She really put on the theatrics.
Work, you can't shovel snow in New York City without an ID, and you can't get.
Yeah, you can. Of course you can. You can shovel snow whenever you want to. Of course you can shovel snow in New York City without an ID, a photo ID. You do not need a photo ID to shovel snow. What she's talking about is the people that got paid to shovel snow, and you don't need a photo ID for that either. And I'll show you.
Into John Ossoff's campaign event. So I'm pretty sure as we look to try to achieve the American dream, whether that's getting insurance, whether that's getting a car, whether that's signing your kid up for school.
Is that the American dream? Getting insurance, buying a car, and signing your kid up for school?
You need an ID. So I am here to.
I had to apply to clear my driveway. Yeah, it's a motherfucker. Look, here's what they're talking about. In New York, if you were going to take Mamdani up on his offer to shovel snow for $30 an hour, you had to fill out this I-9. And if you look down here, you can see, and this is for most government work authorizations. You can have list A. So all of these you can have just by itself and you're good. A U.S. passport or passport card, permanent resident card or alien registration receipt card, foreign passport that contains a temporary I-551 stamp, employment authorization document that contains a photograph. Or if you don't have that, you need one of each from these. So list B, which I know you guys can't see, a driver's license or ID card issued by the state, or an ID card issued by federal, state, or local government agencies, provided it contains a photograph, or a school ID, or a voter registration card, or a U.S. military card, or a military dependents ID card, or a U.S. Coast Guard merchant mariner card, or a Native American tribal document, or a driver's license issued by a Canadian government authority, or a school record or report card, if you're under 18, clinic, doctor, or hospital record, daycare, or nursery school record. And then, on top of that, then you have an and. Now, a lot of those things we just talked about, a lot of those different types of IDs that we just talked about would not be acceptable IDs for the SAVE Act. This is how Republicans get you. This is why the dipshits in here are Republicans. They just tell you shit that isn't true. And they leave out really important details, like that what you would need in order to get paid to shovel snow in New York would not be enough to get you registered to vote. These documents are not enough to get you registered to vote under the SAVE Act. The list C, which is the and, you need a Social Security account card, you need a certification of birth, original birth certificate, Native American tribal document, U.S. citizen ID card, identification card for use of resident citizenship, or an employment authorization document. Still need ID, bro. Not to shovel snow. No, you don't still need ID to shovel snow, John. You need ID to get paid by the government to shovel snow. Now, let's go back. Did she say that, John? Oh, you know what she was saying. And then she compared it to the SAVE Act. It's like, if you need it to shovel snow, then certainly it would be fine for the SAVE Act. Well, the requirements for shoveling snow don't work for the SAVE Act. This is what I'm saying. You guys are so simple. It's crazy. Like they will lie to you, and we show you that they're lying, and you're like, yeah, no, they're not actually lying. It's just that you have to read between the lines. No, she wasn't. You don't need an ID to shovel snow. But you're going to see that from Republicans, and you're going to hear it. You're going to go on TikTok debates, and they're all going to repeat it. You're going to see it in this chat for the next week. Oh, you have to have an ID to shovel snow in New York, because they're just going to hear it, repeat it, and just be lemmings always and forever. You guys could be a little bit better. You don't have to listen to the dumbest fucking people. You don't. You can listen to intelligent people. If you support either side, you're a dumb sheep. That includes you, RTP. Well, I don't. But both sidesism, while we're talking about something dumb Republicans do, is what you guys do every day, and it's fucking annoying. Every time we talk about something Republicans are doing, you're like, both sides are bad. Yeah, no shit. We all agree with that. None of us give a fuck about the Democrat Party. Okay, we're not. I'm not interested in the Democrats. They suck too. We criticize them when necessary. All right. Let's see what Republicans are doing over in Ohio. Do we got any Ohio folks here? Sorry, Ivory, you here? Who else is in Ohio? Ohio sucks, man. This is Danielle Firish. She is, I think, I don't know what her exact role is, on the board of Planned Parenthood. She came in to talk to the fine folks of the Ohio Congress and absolutely rips them to shreds.
Comes to what is obscene or not to children. You have a man who was just put back on his committees who was accused of sexual misconduct with a minor who is a sponsor on this bill. You all let...
What's my opinion of the SAVE Act? 0% unless they nuke the filibuster. And I don't think that Republicans are going to nuke the filibuster. I would say 15% chance the SAVE Act passes.
Him have his committee privileges back. With this bill, you intentionally chose to single out drag performers, trans individuals, or gender nonconformants. That was a choice, a conscious and deliberate choice. According to a report released by safehome.org, Ohio is one of the most unsafe states to live in as an LGBTQ+ American and has the 6th highest number of recorded hate crimes based on gender identity and sexual orientation. It is not...
Shout out Ohio. Best bigots in the game.
Difficult to imagine this reality, as it is a reality often crafted by, encouraged, and reinforced by the members of this very legislature. This isn't about obscenity. This isn't about protecting children. This is yet another unnecessary attempt to target the LGBTQ+ community and strip them from public spaces. While we are on the topic of obscenity, let me conclude with the following. I find it obscene that children and families are struggling to afford their basic needs while we blow billions of dollars a day on an unconstitutional foreign war. I find it obscene that Ohioans can't afford basic health care as we drop bombs on Iranian elementary schools, killing over 170 innocent children.
Your time has expired.
Can you guys explain that? All the cuts that you made to USAID, to Medicare, to SNAP benefits, the cuts that we made to the Obamacare subsidies. You said we couldn't afford it. Why can we afford to bomb other countries? We either can afford it or we can't. But you can't say we can't afford it and then go murder people with it instead. Jesus, Dylan, we see you, bud. We see you. Dylan, you're gonna get kicked out, bud. I don't know if you want to stay here or not, but you keep spamming the same thing, they'll mute you.
But when I'm looking for a witness that would honestly have a discussion about protecting children, Planned Parenthood is not the witness that I would look to. Since more black babies have died in the womb because of your organization. So, to be fair,
Dumbest fucking argument. So dumb. Like they help women and children all the time. You can have a moral disagreement, but if you're comparing who helps women and children more, Republicans or Planned Parenthood, it's Planned Parenthood. I understand. Like that's Republicans' default state. Like, we're never going to do anything to protect women and children, but at least we're not Planned Parenthood. That's what they do every single time, so that they never have to be held accountable for helping women and children. They only care until that kid's born, and then they're like, fuck that kid.
We're being civil and respectful today, Chair Thomas.
I am being,
keep your
interesting.
I am being civil.
Chair, point of order.
Oh, sorry, Miss. It's wild maggots would rather spend $200 billion on bombing schools than feeding starving families. I don't know if I read that or not, but
point of order on the questioning here.
So, tell me in this bill, what special section of this bill you think is unconstitutional?
You can condescendingly monologue at witnesses all day long, and it won't change the fact that you yourself don't respect the Constitution. You have a bill, HB 347, that just passed Ohio House. It is pertinent to this bill. Your bill, HB 347, would bring back the 24-hour waiting period for reproductive health care, which is unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional, absolutely relevant, because courts ruled it unconstitutional almost 2 years ago, yet you are still relitigating that to this day. So I don't want to be lectured about when it comes to the Constitution. I also don't want to...
Sounds like she knew. Sounds like he didn't. Sounds like every Republican I ever have seen in my life. They have a talking point that they stick to try and get applause. And then they try and press somebody else. And when somebody else has an answer, they just wind up looking stupid. Like, she just named 3 things in that bill that were unconstitutional. And then for these Republicans who care about children, she added the cherry on top.
Be lectured about when it comes to what is obscene or not to children. You have a man who was just put back on his committees, who was accused of sexual misconduct with a minor, who is a sponsor on this bill. You all let him have his committee privileges back. Your co-sponsor of this bill was outside of Pride events, literally protesting them next to white supremacist groups. And we're talking about what is obscene and what is appropriate for children. I'm sorry, but you do not have a leg to stand on, Representative.
The amount of pedophiles that you allow in and around your party and do nothing about is alarming. As a parent of a daughter, I do get nervous when there's MAGA folks around people that I love. It makes me very, very nervous. Not necessarily because I think that you'll all abuse them, but if they're abused, I don't think that you'll do anything about it, especially if it's like a Republican that abuses them. You'll discount it. You'll overlook it. You all make me very nervous. All right. And then in Tennessee, what are the Republicans doing in Tennessee? They're doing what Republicans all have to do now. And this is very similar to what we just saw in Fulton County. Republicans introduce bills that don't make any sense. They introduce lawfare that makes no sense. All of this today, almost everything we cover before we get to Iran today, is just going to be Republicans repeatedly stubbing their toe over and over and over again, because it appears that nobody in their party ever like pushes back or says, hey, there might be an objection to this. We should have an answer to some of these objections. This is Tennessee State Senator Janice Bowling. She has a bill with kind of shitty, and again, we'll predict the Republicans in the chat. Republicans in the chat are going to say, oh, so you have a problem with people with saying that if you're here illegally, you can't drive a truck? No, her bill is written so shitty that if you are here legally, but you come from another state, you may not be able to use your license in the state of Tennessee. And that's concerning because the state of Tennessee has reciprocity with other states where they accept each other's licenses. So if Tennessee suddenly starts saying, if you get a license from another state that we don't like, and we're not going to say that that is valid, then those states will do the same thing back to Tennessee. So it's just vague. Like nobody's really even arguing that if you're here and you're undocumented that you can't have an ID. They're just saying the wording of your bill is so obtuse that you're going to be able to, like, you're going to have a problem with people coming to our state and getting a commercial driver's license. And but obviously Janice will have a reasonable response to that.
They're looking at the driver who's holding the license, and that driver will not be allowed to drive in Tennessee until he can speak or read, he or she can speak or read English.
Senator Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So this is actually broader than what I originally thought the legislation was. So am I to take the sponsor is clarifying that if there's someone who's been issued a license from Kentucky or Missouri and they're in the state, and at a safety inspection we determine that they cannot speak English to the satisfaction of the officer who stops them, we can, the Tennessee officer is required to seize their...
Brilliant. Let's have the police judge their ability to speak English and make a judgment call on whether or not to revoke their license on the spot. Brilliant.
Kentucky license and to not let them operate under that license in Tennessee. Is that correct?
Senator Bowling to respond.
They are required to put them out of service. This is just basic common sense, and it's already in compliance. This will be in compliance with the federal law.
I'm having a little...
It didn't answer the question at all. It's basic common sense, and it will be in compliance. She doesn't know. This is what happens when everybody in your party runs on I love Donald Trump more than the other person loves Donald Trump. You wind up with dipshits in office who have no clue how to defend their own bills. That wasn't even close to an answer to what he asked. Not even close. Just it's common sense and it will be lawful. Okay.
Trouble with the conclusion that's consistent with federal law, because other states give full faith and credit to licenses that are issued by Tennessee. And so I'm trying to understand.
Can't agree more with this bill. You couldn't explain this bill. You have no idea what's in this bill. You guys are cute.
Why we would not be giving full faith and credit to licenses that are issued by other states.
Senator Bowling.
If the CDL is governed by the federal motor carrier, and I'm assuming you're a no.
What? How was that an answer? She's reading it too. Somebody gave her this answer. She is absolutely fucking clueless
On this legislation, and I would appreciate it if we could stop the questioning because
Can they stop asking me questions about my bill, please? I would appreciate that if we could stop the questioning and just push my bill through. Thank you.
questions are all going to be answered the same.
I've never had been in a situation where we're moving for question when we're still trying to get, I'm really trying to get basic information about this legislation because I think it is pretty complicated.
Yeah, God bless Donald Trump. That's all you need to know. I don't want my bills to be questioned. I just want them to be pushed through. Shout out State Senator Janice Bowling from Tullahoma. I don't know where that is, but Tullahoma didn't send their best. And if you did send your best, you might be in trouble, Tullahoma. This might be a problem for you. All right, I want to show this from More Perfect Union. This is a little bit longer video, so let me get this started, and then just for the last few months. Just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. Jen's reminding me that we do have a gift goal every single day, and you know how to knock out that gift goal. Today's the last day. If we knock it out quickly, then I don't have to be annoying anymore, but it's up in the top left corner. If you're vertical, if you're horizontal, it's in the bottom left corner. We can do PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Super Chats, and of course, gifting on TikTok, because are we still live on TikTok? I don't even see a flag on my account on TikTok. Got banned yesterday for... they sent me the clip actually yesterday. So we got banned yesterday for election integrity, and they sent the clip of what got us banned. I didn't say a word. I'm trying to even remember who it was. It was just a member of Congress, a Republican, just speaking. And then that's what we got banned for. And it was quickly overturned once I appealed it. But just a reminder there, I'll read anything that you write. And also a reminder, we do have paid subs on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. And on Monday, we're going to watch the getting deep and inside the manosphere, penetrating the manosphere. The down low penetration of the manosphere is what we're going to watch on Monday in the Discord. So you need to be a paid member to join us there. Once you're a paid member, you can just message Jen at JENNDUBB1 on Discord. She'll set up your account and make sure that you have access to watch that with us. Always a good time. I'm really excited for this one. We've watched some sad shows, and so me wanting to be snarky doesn't really play well when we're watching stuff about the Holocaust. So this will be an opportunity for me to be snarky. I look forward to that. It'll be an elevated event for sure. But make sure you are a paid member either on Twitch, TikTok, or YouTube in order to join us for that. But this is from More Perfect Union, and this video is titled "I Support MAGA. This is not what we voted for." And just a consistent reminder to our Republican friends. Thanks for being here. I know that I'm mean to you, and I know I say mean things to you often. And maybe it's tough love. Maybe it's not the right way to do it. Maybe it's not even effective at all. However, there is some level of empathy from me, being born and raised in a cult, that when I watch you get lied to and you pretend that you weren't lied to, it reminds me of my childhood, and I want better for you. And I want you guys to start becoming people, or getting back to the people who had principles and who believed in things, not just people who worship Donald Trump and support anything that he says. MAGA was a huge movement. It was one of the biggest reasons Donald Trump won. It was a little silly because this is also what almost got Michelle Obama canceled, and this has been the total opposite of a Republican talking point as long as I was a Republican. And some of us were confused and thought, I wonder if Trump's going to follow through on this MAGA agenda. We have the answer now. No, they are not. The only thing that they followed through on is vaccines, and they have taken the exact opposite approach of what the scientific data says, and they are making us less safe. We're having historic measles outbreaks in Texas, I think in North Carolina, in Florida, where people are heavily unvaccinated. We're seeing returns of diseases that used to be really, really rare or almost completely eliminated. But thanks to MAGA, who has done nothing to fix your food, at least you're not as safe against disease. So good job.
I've been tracking how chemical...
Darren said bottom right corner, but I found it right corner. Is it? Maybe, but on mine it looks like the bottom left corner, but thank you, Darren. That's weird.
Lobbyists have sabotaged an unprecedented wave of demands to clean up America's food supply. RFK Jr. helped propel Donald Trump to the White House with promises to go after the companies they said...
Thanks, Tanya. Happy Friday to you as well.
...were poisoning our food.
And don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
Millions of Americans have concerns about toxins in our environment and pesticides in our food.
Now, those same corporate polluters are writing the Trump administration's regulations on pesticides. Pesticides with serious safety concerns. How did this happen? We reviewed internal emails from the Environmental Protection Agency to figure out exactly how lobbyists are fighting.
Can somebody mute JSEX for 5 minutes? JSEX, go hit your search history, get that incognito window. You got 5 minutes. Beat it off real quick, and then come back and stop talking about trans people. You're a mess, man. You got to get it together.
Back and spoke to some of MAGA's biggest supporters to see how they are dealing with the betrayal.
It's big ag, big chemical is what has captured a lot of conservative politicians.
All three branches of this government is under siege by lobbyists and lawyers from a German company named Bayer.
This is not what we voted for.
I'm rolling.
Let's start the story with her, Zen Honeycutt, a MAGA activist and fierce ally of RFK Jr.
What was your reaction when you saw that President Trump had named him to this incoming position?
I cried, many other people cried. We were so excited.
Guys, it's happening.
I was had been a lifelong Democrat.
When I talked to her, the EPA had just approved the use of a controversial
I think if I had my wish for MAGA at the end of this, because I think you'll stay MAGA throughout this, I hope that you've learned a lesson. At some point that you learn the lesson, not to celebrate appointments. Don't celebrate promises. Don't celebrate agendas. You can agree with it. You can vote for it. But if you celebrate on the appointment, then you wind up putting yourself in a tricky position later on. And it's just human nature. We don't want to admit that we were wrong. So if you've already celebrated it, if you've already said this is fixed, this is like we're going to make America healthy again, and then they don't, it's kind of hard to go back on that. Right? It's hard to then be honest because you have to swallow some of your own pride and be like, you know what? I was duped. Stop celebrating appointments. And that can go for everybody across the board. But right now we're talking to MAGA. But I would say that to anybody. Just because somebody gets appointed or elected, that doesn't mean the problem's fixed. Every politician could be a liar. Every last fucking one of them. Every one of them can disappoint you. John Fetterman exists. And I think some of us have learned that lesson. We've been disappointed many times, but that would be my wish for you, is that at the end of the MAGA movement, when the haze is gone, you learned some lessons. And some of those lessons are, I will no longer ever be deathly loyal to a politician ever again because I got fucking nothing and I spent 10 years pretending I did. Draco said, Luke Days is this weekend. Will you be going? Luke Days? Is that like Luke Air Force Days? What is Luke Days? That might be a good idea. It is. Maybe I'll look into that. I was looking for something to do this weekend. Maybe I'm going. Is it at night? I got stuff during the day.
Pesticide.
This is extremely disappointing. The EPA must take action to reduce our exposure to toxic pesticides, and that means restrictions and bans. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
The pesticide is concerning, but what's way more concerning is how it got approved.
That's clearly a glaring example of the chemical company influence over this administration.
To see if Zen still believed in Trump's campaign promises, I wanted to talk to her about these emails that offer insight into the approval process. They're about a weed killer called dicamba, and they were uncovered by Nathan Donnelly and the Center for Biological Diversity, and provide clues on how the EPA's chemical division is making decisions on all sorts of dangerous chemicals, including cancer-causing PFAS and formaldehyde.
The documents we got, just really...
Matthew, I want you to think about that, Matthew, real quick. You said, I'm not happy with Trump at all. However, having Harris as our president would have been a huge disaster. It's the same logic. It's the same logic I'm telling you. Don't vote and then blindly defend. You don't know what politicians are going to do. You don't need to justify your frustration with Trump by saying Harris would have been better or would have been worse. I don't know what policy you could point to that says Harris would be worse, other than made up ones like open borders, which she was not a fan of. But we certainly wouldn't be in Iran right now. We certainly wouldn't have had the tariffs. We certainly wouldn't have just been doing the bidding of Netanyahu and bombing the Middle East. What would have happened? Potentially, we would have raised taxes on rich people a little bit. That is interesting that you would say that, and I get it. You can justify your vote all you want, but you can't just hypothetically say Harris would have been worse. You're gonna have to explain what would be worse.
Show how incestuous of a relationship there is between the EPA's chemicals office and the industries they regulate.
Yeah, we wouldn't have ice raids.
Let's lay out the timeline. In 2024, 3 pesticide companies applied for new dicamba-based weed killers.
So the major problem with dicamba is when you spray it, it off-gases, and then it turns into this kind of toxic, nasty plume.
In the
Aloha Festival in Tempe this weekend. Thanks, Damien.
Right conditions, that plume can travel for miles and kill or damage plants not genetically engineered to resist it.
It's, destroying habitat throughout much of the Midwest and the South. It's killing trees that were alive when Abraham Lincoln was president.
Nathan tells me studies linking dicamba to cancer, especially in the workers using it, are inconclusive. But that's concerning in its own right.
It hasn't been until the last less than 10 years where people have started to be exposed to a lot more because we're using a lot more of it. We're basically, guinea pigs in this experiment.
The EPA's first 2 approvals of dicamba were blocked after Nathan's organization and others sued. That didn't stop chemical companies from trying for a 3rd approval. And to do that, they submitted documents saying—
I don't know if you noticed those approvals there for MAHA, these MAHA moms. Like perhaps a little bit more research would have been good, because Trump approved it twice and then it was shut down in the courts twice. This is one of those things where, like, again, they loved RFK, they loved what he was saying, and they just trusted, like, because we love RFK, this must be a good thing. This is going to work out.
Hey, here's how we, the company, think our product can be safely and legally used. But even the pesticide company's labels weren't good enough for the people at the American Soybean Association, who wanted to spray dicamba in the hot summer months and with less buffer zones for environmentally sensitive areas.
They represent corporate agriculture, plain and simple. That's who gives them their marching orders. In fact, a lot of mom and pop soybean farmers do not want dicamba.
And so they started lobbying. On March 11th, ASA Director Kyle Kunkler wrote to an EPA official asking for a meeting on dicamba. And less than 2 hours later, staffers at the EPA jumped into action to make sure a meeting could happen that week. We don't know exactly what was said in that meeting, but we do know this. 3 months later, on June 30th, Kyle Kunkler had a new job: Deputy Assistant Administrator for Pesticides at the EPA. A week.
Nothing to see there, right? That's the most, it's fun. You get used to it with the Trump administration. But he's like, hey, let's make this happen. They're like, all right, let's set up a meeting. And in that meeting, they're like, how about you just run it? How about we just put you in charge of it instead? They just hired the lobbyist.
Later, on July 7th, Kyle Kunkler emailed his colleagues. He had a handful of questions around dicamba's proposed rules and asked them for a meeting about it. Not even a month after that, the EPA responded to dicamba makers with its own rules for use, and it did something unprecedented. In line with the ASA, it offered rules that were less strict than even what the chemical companies themselves had asked for. Cool. Gone were some of the measures to stop dicamba's devastating drifts.
I have never seen this happen once with a pesticide approval.
But this dicamba story is just one small piece of how lobbyists infiltrated the chemical division at the EPA. Dicamba's health effects need more research. But lobbyists like Kunkler are now making decisions on pesticides that have credible links to cancer and other health issues. In just a few months in early 2025, the EPA had
Politics aside, this is bad for all of us. Every single person in this chat right now that lives in this country, this is bad for all of us. It's gross. Someone who just said that it's disgraceful. Yeah, all of it bad. Like the corruption is part of the story, and it's what we're going to cover with politics. But these pesticides are linked to increases in cancer. I was talking to a friend of mine who lived. I met them when I lived in Davenport, Iowa, and they are a farmer. And where I can't remember where their dad lived. It might have been Dubuque. But basically, if you went in to see the doctor, if you started having symptoms, and some of it was like, I think like night sweats, and there was some other stuff. Basically, the first thing doctors everywhere around there would do is be like, oh, we need to get you in for a scan for cancer. Because it was so prevalent. It was because of the pesticides that were used there that everybody that would come in with obvious like conditions that could be explained with, the flu or a fever or even like allergies, they're just like, we got to get you in and screened. That's how prevalent it was.
Meetings with at least 50 industry associations and companies. Companies like Bayer manufacture Roundup and a dicamba pesticide, plus Corteva and Dow.
G-Spec, our food doesn't need this. What are you going to eat, bugs? No, food without pesticides on it. The reason they want these pesticides is because it gives them better profit margins. And those profit margins don't lead to lower prices. Like even if you're like a capitalist, you believe in not a capitalist, but you believe in free market capitalism, and that less waste means that we'll have lower prices. It hasn't been the case. That's why they want this. It makes a more not sustainable, but a more predictable crop, but at the expense of human beings.
The calendars revealed for every one meeting with health or environmental groups, they had 25 with corporate interests. In May, Secretary Kennedy released his highly anticipated MAGA report. It cites chemical industry lobbying as a factor in America's chronic health problems. By September, a follow-up strategy report was absent any mention of chemical lobbying or restricting pesticide use. We were heard, said a prominent chemical industry lobbyist. And in November 2025,
oh, good.
The EPA
thank God the chemical industry lobbyist was heard. That's good.
Registered a new PFOS pesticide, the fifth by the agency in just a few months. PFOS, or forever chemicals, have been linked to everything from liver issues and high cholesterol to cancer.
The EPA has not taken one action, as far as I can see, to reduce our children's exposure to toxic pesticides. There's not been a single restriction.
The same derps who were just chanting MAGA are now pro Roundup in the same 10 minutes of chat. Yeah, there's no principles left. It's just defend everything they do. Yeah, poisonous.
Not a single ban.
This is what we were saying about like Michelle Obama. Like the MAGA movement happened, and we all remember Michelle Obama being criticized for saying that we wanted to get healthier lunches into schools. And Republicans, because their default setting is just lib bad, argue everything. They were like, no, dude, we should be able to eat Twinkies as many as we want. Stop telling our kids what to do. And then MAGA came around. They're like, we got to tell our kids what to do. We have to force what food they can and cannot eat. And then MAGA's a big sham. And they're like, yeah, fuck it. Poison us all. That's America, baby.
Ban on any of the pesticides, for instance, that have already been banned in other countries.
That shouldn't be.
And honestly, some of you should, if some of you aren't alarmed by this, and you say Dems want you to eat bugs, you might be better off eating bugs, honestly. There's a good chance you're better off eating bugs than some of this stuff.
Surprising when you look at who's making decisions at the EPA.
So right now there's 4 former industry lobbyists that make every decision in the chemicals office, including the pesticide office.
Hell yeah. Yeah. There you go. MAGA standing ovation. MAGA in the chat. W lobbyists. MAGA in the chat. Hit up your folks. Celebrate. Let's celebrate MAGA together. You and I together. For they are jolly good fellows. For they are jolly good fellows. We do what we're told and we sit in the corner. Because MAGA are cucks. Congratulations, guys. You're really doing great stuff here with the government. Let's just bring in all lobbyists. Look at this entire administration. Almost the entire fucking administration is lobbyists, and you still think they're doing this for you. Yeah, dude, they're America first for sure, not themselves first. Yeah, there you go. Hip, hip. Hooray!
Include Nancy Beck and Linda Kleva, former lobbyist for the American Chemistry Council. There, DeCleva fought the government's efforts to study formaldehyde's harms and downplayed research tying it to leukemia. Last year at the EPA, she worked to relax formaldehyde regulations.
Brittany said bugs are just extra protein. That's a good point. And Draco said all-day air show for both Saturday and Sunday, always every 2 years except 2020 and 22. March 2024, they had the Thunderbirds F-16s. This year, they have the Blue Angels F-18s. Civilians can walk into the tarmac. Just look up Luke Days 2026. Thank you. And they ought to pay you for that. That was a good ad you just cut there for them.
With sign-off from Nancy Beck.
So it really all but guarantees that any decision coming out of this office is going to de-emphasize public health protections.
Oh,
It's
thanks,
a
Draco's Rose.
far cry from the
I didn't
problem.
even see that. It was a big donation. $50 from Draco's Rose. Everybody, W in the chat for Draco's Rose there. That's a big donation. Thank you.
RFK and Donald Trump made to mothers like Zen.
We mothers saw a presidential candidate finally talking about pesticides and autism and childhood chronic illness and said, holy cow, we're being heard.
Don't mess with America's moms.
I have to point out, a lot of people voted for Trump even though it went against their political standings in the past. They voted for him even though many people despised him, right? They despised his previous actions. And they did this because of his stance on pesticides and to make America healthy again. For the
Let's
Republic.
stop that. Mike says, laughable that you think these people are worse than Biden's dream team. Cool, Mike. Nobody said that. Mike, you're going to have to answer this question. Is this a good team? 4 lobbyists on the EPA, because we're not going to play whataboutism all day. Let's see if you can be honest. Is that good? Is that a good thing that all the 4 people making the decisions at the EPA are all lobbyists for chemical companies? Guys, make sure Mike doesn't forget this. It's Mike D. Just tell us, Mike, is that good or bad? We'll watch for it.
To not take on that mandate of their president and to go against that is really a massively missed opportunity.
Despite her frustrations, Zen told me she is still hopeful.
We hope they turn this around. We hope they see the wisdom in the MAGA movement that reducing toxic chemicals is essential to restoring our health.
On the other hand, one senior EPA official reportedly said, "I feel the MAGA people are being played."
They're throwing MAGA a few scraps on the floor and trying to hide the fact that they're feeding a gourmet.
I forgot about the Kid Rock RFK softcore video that they put out. That's beautiful.
Meal to the chemical industry behind closed doors.
Some people call me, politically naive, but the reason why I always hold out hope is because I know that person sitting across from me, whether they're a chemical lobbyist or not, they have loved ones.
Her hope would be tested the very next day.
President Trump has issued an executive order to boost domestic production of glyphosate.
The order offered immunity to glyphosate manufacturers from lawsuits over potential health effects. MAGA erupted. RFK made his career suing Monsanto over glyphosate.
I believe that glyphosate causes cancer.
Now, he was defending Trump's executive order.
I'm telling people not to vote in the midterms.
This is basically the middle finger.
Sold you out. They all sold you out. They always sell you out. It's what they do. And if you weren't so focused on trans people and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris still for some unknown reason, you might be able to catch that they sell you out every chance they get.
To MAGA.
Even before the executive order, decisions around...
Let's just stop before you even say it. And just so you know, we're all aware that Democrats sell us out too, which is why we talk about it, which is why if I say the name John Fetterman, half the chat's going to say, fuck John Fetterman. And if I say Chuck Schumer, half the chat is going to say, fuck Chuck Schumer. We get that. If you want to ask this chat how they feel about Harris and Biden's policy when it came to Israel, they're all going to say, fuck that. We just need MAGA, not necessarily to agree with us. We don't even need you to abandon your principles. We want you to have some motherfucking principles one goddamn time. Just one motherfucking time. We need you to have some principles. And this is an easy one. This is an easy one. We have science that says these companies are poisoning us, giving us cancer, and these chemicals have been banned or they've been severely limited, and this administration took a check and said, fuck it, let the people die. This should be the easiest thing in the world to criticize. If you can't find yourself criticizing this move by this administration, it's therapy. I highly recommend therapy. Go, you'll feel better.
Other pesticides were creating tension in the MAGA movement.
We're seeing chat groups. Then they're saying, well, I guess I'm a Democrat again. President Trump's mandate to make America healthy again, which includes pesticides. It's actually the primary focus of when Trump was on the
Which is crazy that they say, I guess I'm a Democrat again. Who do you think it was that was getting these chemicals banned? Who was it? It wasn't Republicans. This is why we say, don't tie yourself to a politician. They liked RFK, so they went to the Republicans, who the history of poisoning people in this country in the last 40 years is a bunch of Republicans taking money from lobbyists and killing farmers. A bunch of anti-science, fuck science Republicans. But they chose to sell out because they liked RFK, and now they're acting shocked that the Republicans are being Republican. RFK wasn't elected. None of these Republicans that work in Congress or in this administration have any obligation to listen to RFK, and there's no incentive for them to back up RFK's MAGA movement because they already got you. They're only here for 4 years. Trump's here for 4 years. He got what he needed out of you guys. RFK got what he needed out of you. Now RFK gets to go change all the science, and as soon as he's out of office, he'll go try and sue a bunch of vaccine manufacturers, and he'll use the government's stance as a way to be like, see, the United States government says, and even if it doesn't jive with the science, it doesn't matter. They just absolutely sold you out. You got to stop defending that.
Presidential platform. There needs to be action around pesticides for the majority, I believe, of the MAGA people to be excited about the Republicans maintaining power in the House going forward. Our moms are not beholden to a political party. We are going to vote for...
The Democrats were in charge for 37 years and didn't do nothing. Ma'am, I have real concerns about your ability to hear words and know what the fuck the words are. Have you been watching this? Donald Trump undid the regulations. What do you mean? The regulations were there. Those were Democrats that put those regulations in place. Those were the things that we did. And then Trump undid them. Jesus fucking Christ. Can you hear, ma'am? I got real concerns about you. Are you watching this? You will just say that for everything.
People who put health and safety first. Period. That's it.
I spoke to several people like Zen reporting the story. I have to say, I don't agree with them on a lot, but I do agree with them on this. Lobbyists shouldn't be calling the shots on which chemicals are considered safe.
Set aside for a second the silliness and the fringe views on vaccines and raw milk and stuff like that. The core component of the MAGA movement is really quite popular.
Jen, will you look at Trailer Shift's comments today? Just search their comments and see how many times they have mentioned Biden or Democrats. Thank you. I won't still be talking about Trump. I talk about politics, so Trump will be out of politics. Unless somehow he's running for president again, then we'll probably talk about him.
The problem is the Democrats lost them. At some point, the MAGA movement is going to get wise to this, and they're going to realize that they were played for fools. And when that happens, I hope that some political party, some political candidates will step in and grow a backbone and take on the chemical industry and, actually be a champion of these issues because it's sorely needed.
Nathan's organization is suing the EPA over dicamba for a third time. And in response to the glyphosate executive order, a bipartisan bill was introduced called the No Immunity for Glyphosate Act. And last year, Cory Booker introduced a pesticide accountability law. Zen endorsed it. If there was a Democratic candidate who said, we're going to empower the FDA to actually regulate...
I said I was going to send this yesterday when you were playing the Afroman clips, but then I got high. You're the best. Thank you. I'll be in the chat for Kelly. An awesome $40 donation there. Thank you so much.
All the additives being put in our food. We're not going to let the pesticide companies pollute our communities with PFOS and formaldehyde and dicamba. Could they earn your vote, especially with the track record that you're seeing right now?
Yes. I think that candidate could earn the vote of many moms who are sick and tired of seeing the Republicans pander to these pesticide companies. We're tired of it.
All right. There we go. Great stuff, as always, by More Perfect Union. If you're not following More Perfect Union on YouTube, I would highly recommend it. They put out, their journalism's incredible. There's one I want to do as a members-only event. They covered the UFC, so I'm not sure if everybody will love that, and it's kind of long, but that one we're going to do here pretty soon. Not on movie night, like a separate members-only event. Okay. Let's go here. All right. I didn't really know where to put this, but I didn't know this. And I found out this morning, and maybe some of you know, but Greg Phillips, who is, I think, like the number 3 or 4 in FEMA. There's no real reason to cover this other than I saw it today. And just another example of the kind of lunatics that the Trump administration puts in power. Again, this is somebody, I think, like the number 3 or 4 at FEMA, very high up in this administration. And remember, they do opposition research. They do due diligence, or they're supposed to, when they hire people or when they put people up for appointments. And somehow this dude made it into a government role helping manage disaster relief.
We had a teleport incident, 2 of them, and I ended up at a Waffle House like 50 miles away from where I was.
That man who is, yes, talking about teleporting to a Waffle House is Greg Phillips, and he now holds one of the most important jobs at FEMA, overseeing the Office of Response and Recovery.
Becky said, happy Friday. Love you and Jen. Love you too, Becky. Thank you.
It was an incredibly frightening moment to experience yourself in your car flying through the air. But I tell you, teleporting is no fun.
Phillips is a far-right activist, and he now helps determine how the government...
What if we put that guy in charge of emergency response? What if we just teleport the goods in there? What if when a hurricane's coming, we teleport everybody out of there? What if we just did that? Yeah, that's a real thing. This is a real thing. Shane said he fired me and 2,500 other FEMA managers. He also fired 5,000 other volunteers. Did he fire you or did he teleport you? First of all, I'm sorry to hear about your job. Also, Jesus fucking Christ, this administration is trash.
Government responds when disaster strikes, coordinating billions of dollars in search and rescue operations and emergency aid. He was appointed to this position in December, and a CNN K-File review of Phillips' podcast and social media history found a long
What were some of those? Let's go look at
record
those.
of
Sorry.
Phillips'
Completed analysis of database of 180 million voter registrations. Number of non-citizen votes exceeds 3 million. This is the kind of account that goes big. Donald Trump just chose the Twitter accounts with the biggest following. Or giant story: Obama hacked the Georgia election system. Guarantee all the rest were hacked. 48 states let them in under the guise of helping. For sure, yeah, for sure. What year was that? Do we have a year? Our best estimates suggest more than 2 million illegals voted on Tuesday. Okay, what happened to the 3 million? We took it down to 2.
podcast and social media history found a long record
It's Monday. Join guest host Greg Phillips standing in for Catherine while she's traveling. Okay, doesn't say.
of extraordinary personal claims.
We then tracked down what we felt like were 3 million non-citizen voters.
We felt like it. We just felt like it. Goddamn, guys, you guys are so generous today. Thank you. OCD Tileworks, bring back shushies, please. I would love to, and thank you. $72 donation. Thank you very much. You still haven't told me who you are, by the way. I actually tried to look you up. I was at the trampoline park the other day with my daughter, and she had a friend there, so I didn't have to jump at the time. I actually tried to figure out who you were. Still don't know. You're doing a great job.
Election fraud, conspiracy theories, and violent rhetoric towards public officials.
You said we know that 3 million illegally voted. Do you have the proof?
Yes.
Will you provide it?
Yes.
Can I have it?
No.
In January 2025, after Trump took office, Phillips was discussing a Trump executive order that targeted intelligence officials who had questioned the veracity of Hunter Biden's laptop before the 2020 election. Phillips said this.
I'm going to find you. I'm going to track you down. I'm going to beat the living snot out of you.
He then talked about former President Joe Biden.
I would like to punch that bitch in the mouth right now. He is a nasty, crappy human being.
What's wrong with Joe Biden? How could you be that mad about Joe Biden? For whatever, this is when you know politics have ruined your brain. Joe Biden's one of the most harmless individuals that has ever existed. You can say you don't like his politics. You can say whatever. You could say that, he was arrogant from time to time. But Joe Biden was a softie, especially this version of Joe Biden, 300-year-old President Joe Biden. What are you talking about? He was just a softie. How could you possibly be that mad at Joe Biden?
He deserves.
That's a good point. Yeah, Lindsey Graham cried about over how nice Joe Biden is. He said, let's find that, actually. That's a good point. Let's find that Lindsey Graham quote. I wonder if we can find it. Here it is. Oh, he doesn't look very drunk here. That's weird. Remember when Lindsey Graham said this? And now he's like, we gotta bomb all the Muslims. Get them all.
If you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, then it's probably you got a problem. You need to do some self-evaluation. Because what's not to like? If you can't admire...
Good point. All right, sorry.
To die, and I hope he does.
Phillips first rose to prominence promoting false claims of widespread voter fraud in the 2016 and 2020 elections.
Trump retweet. Greg Phillips and crew say at least 3 million votes were illegal. We must do better. Yeah. We did do better, actually. Turns out, I don't know if they caught anybody that voted illegally in the 2020 election, at least that made it through the filters.
The unfounded claims were widely disputed by both courts and election officials. On multiple occasions, Phillips described migrants crossing the southern border as an invading force and urged people to arm themselves.
The war is here. They want you dead. They've come here to kill you. Be well armed. Take care of your family.
The person making these remarks is now in a position of public trust at an agency where judgment, credibility, and calm decision-making carry life or death consequences. A FEMA spokesperson told CNN, "This is so silly, it's barely worth acknowledging. DHS, FEMA, and Mr. Phillips are focused on the critical mission of emergency management and ensuring the safety of the American people. Many of the comments cited are taken out of context."
This is perfect. Bill found one. How could you be mad? Are you kidding me? Checking his watch while heroes' bodies are being unloaded? Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's a crazy reason for you to be upset. That's fucking crazy that you're upset about that. Yeah. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you be that upset? Donald Trump literally just wore a hat to like his own branded hat to do the exact same thing, and then made an ad out of it, a fundraising ad telling people they could pay to get classified briefings, and then sent it out for donations. And we covered it for 5 minutes and let it go. Relax, man. That was years ago. And he wanted to know what time it was. Oh no. He checked his watch, guys. Send him straight to hell. This is what you like. This is what we're saying about you. It's incredibly irrational how much you hate Joe Biden. That you had time, Bill. You had time to think about the things that would make you hate Joe Biden, and you came up with, he looked at his watch. No, I'm saying it did happen, Bill. I'm saying you're kind of a bitch. You are kind of a thin-skinned, baby-backed bitch. Jesus fucking Christ, man. He looked at his watch 8 years ago. Relax. That's really a reason to still like carry on hatred for somebody? I'll never forgive a man for looking at his watch. If you come to Bill's Auto Service and you even mention Joe Biden, we will throw your tires back at your face. Get it together, man. You're a grown-up. You're a grown-up. He checked it 13 times. Oh, no. Oh, 13 times. Oh, no. Guys, somebody check on Bill. Bill might not make it today. Joe Biden looked at his watch. Oh, Bill, how did you survive? How are you still here, bud? How do you sleep? Can you get an erection anymore with all that rage? Jesus, it's justified. String him up. Firing squad for Joe Biden. He looked at his fucking watch. How are we gonna do that? How are we gonna do that as president, looking at your watch? Should we show the video too? Let's find the video of that. Oh, this is going.
Personal, informal, jovial, and somewhat spiritual discussions made in the context of barely surviving cancer in a private capacity prior to his current role.
All right. Let's even see. I don't even remember the details on this, so we're going to check out the fact check here. Joe Biden checked his watch during the dignified transfer ceremony for U.S. servicemen. The incident occurred in the return of 13 U.S. servicemen. I think you might have mixed up the 13 times with 13 service members. I bet somebody clipped a video together and showed it 13 times. Let's see there's an actual video here. Come on, C-SPAN, you got this. C-SPAN's running on DOS. All right, C-SPAN might be a little too slow. Oh, maybe it's going. Good Lord, C-SPAN. Okay, we got it. We're going to get an ad too. Okay, no. Guys, sorry, trigger warning. Trigger warning. Bill, you don't have to watch this. I know how upsetting this is for you. I don't want to give you PTSD from having to see Joe Biden look at his watch again. So, guy, you may want to leave right now. You may want to step out if this ever loads. Let me see if I can find a better video. C-SPAN's website is not going well. Maybe my internet's shitty. Might be me. Sorry, C-SPAN. Didn't mean to have you catch strays there. Some of you were saying that it was his son Bo's watch. I think I remember hearing that. I just don't remember the details on this very much, but all right, here's the original. Oh, shit. Let's watch it again. Sorry, I don't mean to traumatize you, but look at this. Ah! Oh. To the gallows. Fucking Bill, man. It's a tough look for you, Bill. Psaki, inaccurate claim he didn't do this. Oh, in a book, I guess, later on. Okay, well, I hope you can recover from that, Bill, and I apologize if I made things worse for you. Shane says 1,835 plus or minus fraudulent votes in 2020. Either they were cast by people that didn't know they lost their privilege to vote or falsely voted for Trump. Okay. Great news. This is why we love Jen. Remember when Trailer Shift was like, I bet this guy's only going to ever talk about Trump. This was Harris would have left the border open. Progressiveness is an ideology. Cultist members follow an ideology who's loyal to a politician, like the appointment of Kamala Harris. We're still Harris lost. She didn't even win, and he's talking about Harris still. Ribeye, bone in, medium rare. Actually, I agree with you there. We can make that bigger. Sorry. Mitochondriatis from the Vasics. I think you meant myocarditis. I don't know what mitochondriatis is. I think maybe you meant myocarditis. I did get myocarditis from COVID before there was a vaccine. It sucks, actually. There we go. California, of course, got to go after California. Fuck your income tax. Okay. Well, good job, bud. Got you guys in an uproar a little bit today. I'm sorry. Feel really bad about that. All right. Breaking news now. James Comey has been subpoenaed.
Turning to some news that has broken since we've been on the air. Axios reporting that former director of the FBI, Jim Comey, has been subpoenaed in a wide-ranging grand conspiracy case against the ex-officials who investigated. And
LCD can't say who I am. I'm in witness protection. All right, now I have a better idea of maybe who you are.
Some who would go on to prosecute Donald Trump. That's according to two sources with knowledge of that situation. The subpoena for Jim Comey was reportedly issued last week and relates to his alleged role in the drafting of a January 2017 intelligence community assessment concerning Russia's election interference that favored.
Some of you are asking the right question. What did James Comey do? He participated in a grand conspiracy against Trump. This is dumber than you think. This, if you remember last year, Tulsi Gabbard came out and said she was going to release information that showed conclusively that the Obama administration conspired against Donald Trump to try and help Hillary win the election. And it was based on a ICA report that in the ICA report, it said that their confidential source, who they had used for years across multiple administrations, said, and who was basically one person removed from Putin, who works in the Russian government, said that Putin preferred Trump over Hillary. And in the Durham Annex, which she cited as evidence, as the evidence, to say that Comey and Obama and a bunch of other people, I think Peter Strzok's involved in this, that they can engage in this conspiracy is because there were a couple intelligence agents, the minority of them, by the way, that worked on that ICA report, who said we need to put better language in the footnotes, and what the language that we should be a little bit more clear that this was a confidential human source and that it wasn't verified that Putin preferred Trump. It's just so when the Durham Annex came out, what it said is in the future, maybe in the footnotes, we should be a little more clear, just so that nobody thinks that this was verified. It didn't say that it was verified. It literally cited the human source. I think that footnote is fucking irrelevant because when I read it, and we did an entire live on this, it literally said like confidential human source said Putin preferred Trump. And that is the totality of their evidence that Comey, Obama, and Peter Strzok fabricated intelligence reports to go after Trump. It leaves out the other part that James Comey also broke all of the rules to go out and announce an investigation into Hillary Clinton, which ultimately led to nothing. She was exonerated under the Trump administration. But this is the reason that they're doing this is because they tried to indict Comey in Virginia and they couldn't. And they tried to get Letitia James in Virginia and they couldn't. And they keep losing because every time they go before the court's like, okay, what's the crime here? Like, colluding to undermine an election. They're like, cool, what's your evidence? Well, the Durham Annex. And they're like, cool, what does the Durham Annex say? The Durham Annex says that they could have been more clear in a footnote. And you think that that's a crime? And they're like, yeah. And then the courts are like, no, sorry. This isn't, you can't get past a grand jury. So now that they've already lost this, they've already tried to do this to Comey in Virginia. They're like, let's try it in Florida. So now they're just going to try the same thing in Florida.
Donald Trump. This so-called grand conspiracy case.
Oh, sorry, real quick. Ash said, just came to say, fuck Admir. Hope he's listening. Goddamn. Admir, I don't know what you did, but if you pissed off Ash, you probably did something fucking stupid, and you probably owe her an apology because Ash doesn't get mad that often. Katrina said for therapy after seeing Joe Biden's watch scene. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to need it. My therapist texted me this morning, actually checking in on me. Go to a good therapist. And I forgot to text back. Sorry. If you're here, my bad.
Assessment concerning Russia's election interference that favored Donald Trump. This so-called grand conspiracy case is based in the Southern District of Florida, and it relies on the belief that officials who worked for President Barack Obama and later Joe Biden broke the law back then before they knew who would win the 2016 election to try to undermine Donald Trump from his 2016.
And again, broke the law by including a confidential human source in a threat assessment. That's what they're claiming. How come, Mag, if you're still here, why don't you guys ever win any lawsuits? How come Trump has lost all of these? Everybody that he said he was going to prosecute and then he does, he can't even get them out of grand juries. Why is that? Is it just woke judges? Is that the only reason? How many times do you have to lose? Grandy's Garden, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Just so you know, this is an open forum here. I know you're saying Libby's can't debate and we need interpreters or whatever, all the things that you've said. I'd just like to point out, I'll debate you about anything. I wouldn't consider myself a liberal. I'm more progressive. But there's see that Venmo username? That's also Jen's Discord username. And you can come up here and you can debate me on whatever the fuck you would like to debate. This is an open forum. And all of the people on the right that we invite to do this every single day never take us up on it. There's always some excuse like they're working or they can't figure out how to use Discord or some shit. And I'm sure that you'll come up with one of those too. But if you do want to stand by your words and prove that we're all afraid, you're welcome to come up and you can debate anything you would like to.
Election through his federal indictments in 2023. It sounds bat bleep crazy, but it's really happening.
Yeah, it is really, really happening. It's 2 lawsuits today we've had to cover that are remarkably stupid. And for analysis of something this stupid, we have to rely on the dumbest of the dumb. This is Tim Cast IRL, who has decided to cover this. I don't really know who these people are. I know Tim. Apparently, this is like their token liberal. I'm not sure who she is. I can't remember this guy, but he's dumb. I've seen this guy before, and I don't know who this guy is or Karate Kid down here. But watch how Tim Pool covers this. if you watch Tim Pool, I think it's important that you know Tim Pool doesn't do any homework ever. He just is all vibes. I'm certain that Tim Pool has not read the Durham Annex. I'm 100% certain of that. In fact, I don't know of many conservatives who have read the Durham Annex. The only person I've come across that's ever talked to me about the Durham Annex was that the fucking Andrew Wilson's protege. Why do I forget his name every time? My mind is blanking on me. He's the only person who's ever brought it up to me ever, and he got it way wrong too. He tried to like sneak it in at the end of our debate, thinking I wouldn't know about it, and it turned out I did, and he got caught lying. But Tim Pool certainly didn't read the Durham Annex. So listen to Tim Pool cover what's about to happen with James Comey. Rob Knorr, thank you. God damn, that's such an easy name to remember. I don't know why I can't get that name.
My side, but I don't really have a team. But when we want due process because we want to ensure that people who have vested interests against us can't weaponize systems. And I think that there's genuine concern that the DOJ is being weaponized against Trump enemies.
Yeah, I think it was weaponized against Trump. I think it's been
sure. Both of those instances, if that.
She's like, he's weaponizing the government against his enemy, and he's like, nah, it was weaponized against Trump. What did James Comey do? What did James Comey do to weaponize the DOJ or the FBI against Trump? It's always just like, actually, this isn't weaponization because Trump's always the victim. Always, always, always.
That was the case. If these are
That's
the case,
why
both of these things are bad.
I don't believe in due process anymore. Like it's like the tooth fairy to me now. Like you can say it exists and we understand the concept. Like, yes, when I go to bed after my teeth fall out, hopefully not at 40 years old, that would suck. But I put it under my pillow and then money's
What about your hair, dog?
There. Like something did happen and then I'm told it was the tooth fairy. That's how I feel about due process, right? Something does.
Which is an ironic thing for Tim Pool to say, considering that Donald Trump got due process. At no point was Donald Trump unfairly prosecuted outside of his rights. In fact, Donald Trump was shielded from prosecution while president. He's currently shielded from prosecution while president. And when he wasn't president, he got due process. I'm not sure Tim Pool knows what due process is. Due process doesn't mean that if you get prosecuted and you wind up innocent, that it was like that you didn't get your due process. That was the process that you were due. Now, Trump lost every case. Trump went all 3 cases against Trump that went in front of a jury, or I guess 2 went in front of a jury, and one of them, Lena Haba, forgot to get a jury. She decided to just leave it up to the judge because she's a fucking idiot. He lost all of them, 3 for 3. So he got due process. The people that he harmed didn't all get due process, but Trump got the process he was due. So I don't know what he's saying here. I just think maybe he doesn't know what due process is, which isn't surprising because Tim Pool doesn't know what most things are.
Happen most of the time, but when it actually matters, there's no due process because the left makes the same.
Why did they throw out 34 felonies? They didn't. Google it right now. Did they just Google this? May. Oh, we'll do it actually. We'll do this for you. I'm kind of petty today. We're probably not going to get to Iran. I'm going to be annoying today. Did Trump's 34 felonies get overturned? Oh, it's in there. It is actually in my search history because we do this so often. Here you go, May. No, Trump's 34 felony convictions in the New York hush money case have not been overturned on appeal as of late 2025. Here are the key details. New York jury found Trump guilty of 34 felony counts. In January 2025, Judge Merchan sentenced Trump to an unconditional discharge, meaning he did not face fines, probation, or prison time. Trump's legal team is appealing the conviction, arguing it should be thrown out, but there's been nothing on that. So, you can apologize if you want. May. This is a good opportunity for us to become friends. You could just say, my bad, I thought they were thrown out. And I will say, that's okay. You can't know everything. I do this for a job.
Same exact argument I'm making now. You've got that dude in California who raped that one chick, and they said he had that's what it is? Affluenza from raping that chick?
Yeah.
So
what the fuck is he talking about? You know what he's talking about? Also, don't call people. You're a grown up, dude. He's like 40. Don't call women chicks. It's a weird thing to do at your age. You're not a teenager anymore. Oh, this is Brock Turner. What is affluenza? famously using the public media. That's like if you're affluent, you get. Oh, okay, yeah, that does make sense. You know who was like who thought Brock Turner should get a light sentence? I don't know if you guys knew this. Peter Thiel. He liked that. He liked that outcome.
He didn't. There was no functional due process
he was
there.
too rich to know what he was doing wrong.
The
He didn't
Affluenza
realize
case
it.
spoiled
He-
into being.
It's crazy. They
So he like
No. Wait, you all got it wrong? No, that's not what they were saying. I don't think so. It's a term combining affluence and influenza, describing a social condition of overconsumption, anxiety, and a sense of emptiness caused by relentless pursuit of wealth, often linked to entitled behavior in wealthy individuals. Or did they use that as their defense? Oh, this is interesting. So this comes from Ethan Couch, a Texas case. A teenager who killed 4 people while drunk driving was sentenced to 10 years probation instead of jail after a defense expert argued his wealthy parents never taught him that actions have consequences, a condition dubbed affluenza. Why are they citing California here instead of Texas? Whoops. Are they mixing up Brock Turner and this Texas case? I think they are. Whoops. Tried to go after a left-leaning state. Oh yeah, so here's what it says. While often associated with the affluenza defense, the term actually applied to Ethan Couch, not Turner. The lenient sentence led to the recall of Judge Aaron Pesky. Okay, so yeah, they tried to blame California. Yeah, what did I tell you? Tim Pool doesn't know anything. I didn't know that either. But you see how quick that was to get the answers? Tim Pool, you got 2 screens in front of you, bud, and 18 people on your panel. You could have got the right answer.
Affluenza.
Yeah, they said he suffered from affluenza because he was too rich to understand what he did was wrong.
So that campaign ad at Arlington, yeah.
That's from the left. The left has made that argument. I think it's fair to say both the left and the
No, it doesn't sound like it. Sounds like that was a Texas judge. I've never heard anybody on the left make that argument.
right agree that the legal system is just a function of who wants to exercise power against their enemies.
I think that these going behind the backs. Yes.
It's not your Tim Pool. I can't do it with Tim Pool. The justice system now is just whoever wants to go after their enemies. No, that's silly. It's there so that you can, if a crime is committed against you, you can prosecute or you can sue somebody. And if you commit a crime, you have the due process of defending yourself. That's what it's there for. Tim Pool is just like all in on fascism. I don't want laws. I don't want constitution. I just think we should all go by vibes. Who caught it? The lib. The lib caught it. Well done.
People and like spying on opponents has been the norm through history, even though they will tell you we have due process. And I want to, Rudyard, I really want to get your take on this because since the internet, feels like people like Donald Trump actually have a chance at bucking the system. Did this kind of thing ever?
Yeah, since the internet was invented, finally billionaires have a chance in court. Yeah. Thanks, internet.
Happen in the past?
So I have a few different takes here. The first of which is we have to be very careful about eroding rule of law because that's been the English-speaking world's great advantage. And if we erode rule of law, it's going to have very negative downstream effects on everything between the economy, between politics, because rule of law is the set of rules you use to establish all social interaction. And if that goes away, you won't make...
It's way too high level for a Tim Pool podcast. This is going right over Tim's head. And I appreciate the hamburger meat hanging out there.
Companies because someone will steal the company you make. But I have another thing. The second thing is the left has been weaponizing this already. And there's been a huge issue with conservative judges and with conservatives making the argument that you're opposed to saying, oh, we can't do this, blank, blank, blank. The left has already done a weaponization of the political process to an insane degree. And when conservatives push against stuff where it should be illegal...
No examples there. So far, the only example they had was a Texas judge.
...to discriminate against white men under civil rights law. It happens on a mass degree, but conservative judges don't stand against it. Conservative judges don't stand against the rampant abuse in the family court system against men. They don't stand against the rampant biases against...
All right, that's enough. Shut the fuck up. The system is rigged against white men. That's a pretty revisionist history there. They just gave us the example of affluenza, which was a white kid, a rich white kid. And they're like, yeah, it was completely rigged against billionaires like Donald Trump and white men. Whoever it was that said Tim Pool was awesome, 100% chance you're a white dude. I love going on and them telling me I'm a victim. All right. Now we're going to go the completely other direction. And while I like this, I'm a fan of this. Whoever's running Bernie Sanders media is doing an incredible job, but it's still Bernie Sanders. So I think it's okay to laugh at this. It's interesting, but it's it also feels a little mean. This is Bernie Sanders speaking to Claude, which is AI. And if you ever wondered how confusing it might be for a 90-year-old man to speak to a robot as a human, you'll see it here. Bernie Sanders is so polite to AI. He just never changes. It's the thing that most of us love about Bernie Sanders, that like Bernie, is that like he's just been 90 years old since he was 20 years old. He's been this exact human being his entire life. He's polite, he's kind, he worries about the working class people of America. He's resilient. I love Bernie Sanders, but really interesting video. It just kind of made me laugh. But whoever's doing like the aesthetics here and who's putting the lighting together, like great job. Whoever he hired to do his media, A++.
Claude, this is Senator Bernie Sanders. I have been taking a hard look at how AI impacts American society in terms of economics and job loss, in terms of the mental health of our kids, in terms of what it will do to the political process. What I want to talk to you about is another issue, and that is the impact of AI on privacy. I want to know, among other things, just how much of the information that AI collects is being used, and what would surprise the American people in terms of knowing how that information is collected?
Yeah, that's the thing that would probably shock most Americans. Companies are collecting data from everywhere. Your browsing history, your location, what you buy, what you search for, even how long you pause on a web page. Then they're feeding all of that into AI systems that create incredibly detailed profiles about you. What would surprise people is how little they actually consented to and how little they understand about it. Most people click agree on terms of service without reading them, and they have no idea that their data is being combined with thousands of other data points to build a picture of who they are. And then that AI uses those profiles to decide what ads you see, what prices you're shown, even what information gets prioritized in your social media feed. It's all happening in the background, invisible and largely unregulated.
I think the other thing to remember is sometimes people talk about, like I see it on Twitter a lot, they talk about AI as if AI is like some tattletale. It is just giving you the knowledge that they have. So it's not like this is new information. It's a language learning model. So they learned this answer from real human beings. This isn't AI like telling us anything we didn't already know. But I do like when people do this, because a lot of these models, as far as we know, they're not built specifically with like a political confirmation bias. And so for questions like this, I really like AI. I really like it when you can sort through some shit, because it's not meant to necessarily give you the political answer that you're looking for.
I mean, I think most Americans would know the answer to this, but why is all of this information being collected? What's the goal here?
That's true, Julia.
Money, Senator. It's fundamentally about profit.
The computer made me laugh.
Companies collect all this data because AI allows them to turn it into valuable insights.
100%. He gives the 100% chance at the end. I've made it all the way to the end, but I'm going to place a bet that he tries to give the AI Claude some sort of hard candy at the end here.
They can predict what you'll buy, target you with ads that are more likely to work, charge different prices to different people based on what they know about you. Advertisers pay premium prices for access to these detailed profiles because they're incredibly effective at manipulating consumer behavior. And it's not just about selling you stuff either. Political campaigns use the same AI and data to figure out how to persuade you, which messages will work on you specifically. Data brokers buy and sell information about millions of Americans without their knowledge. The bottom line is that your attention, your behavior, your choices, all of that has become a commodity to be bought and sold.
Oh, Claude, thank you. And let me just ask you.
I try to be. I love it so much. He's so polite. This is like Bernie in a Senate hearing.
Is there anything else that you think the American people should understand about the threat of AI in terms of privacy?
I think the key thing is that privacy isn't just a personal issue, it's a democracy issue. When companies and governments have detailed profiles of millions of people, they have power over those people in ways most Americans don't fully grasp. They can manipulate your choices, predict your behavior, and influence your thinking. So this isn't abstract. It affects whether democracy actually works. That's why I think your focus on this is so important, Senator.
Oh, gassing up Bernie there.
Well, Claude, thank you very much for your help.
Thank you, Senator.
Hey, I'm not making fun of him. I love Bernie Sanders. We need more softness, less people trying to get gotchas. We need less bros. I was listening to a Senate hearing yesterday. I can't remember the guy's name from Texas. He was just like cold, dead, Phil Bro voice. We need much less of that. Less Amy, or is it Amy Britt? Or is it Amy? Less of that too. All right, let's talk about the Epstein files. This was I've been concerned about the Democrats' ability to work together and to I guess I don't want to say kind of litigate the Epstein files. And it's starting to become clear that they are on the same page and that they are working together, and that they're for the first time in a while, it feels to me like there is an actual plan here. And for the first time in a very long time, it feels like the Democrats have a very good idea of, one, what's in the files, and two, the way to build the case in the public view. And so this took place yesterday. The I think it was Oversight Committee talked to Epstein's lawyer. The day before that, Dan Goldman gave this speech, and I saw this speech that day, and it wasn't anything new. I'd heard it before, and so I didn't play it on the show. Now it makes sense why he gave this specific speech the day before, and we're gonna go over that. We've got about an hour left. This may take Epstein might take the rest of the day.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to discuss this administration's massive cover-up of the Epstein files in order to conceal President Trump's involvement. This cover-up reached its apex last month when Attorney General Pam Bondi falsely testified under oath before the House Judiciary Committee. The Attorney General testified, quote, "There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that," unquote. This is a lie. In the 3 million or so
That was an absolute lie. Every Republican who says there's no evidence Trump committed a crime is lying. There is evidence. Does that mean he committed a crime? Not necessarily. But you can't say there's no evidence. Access, stop yelling at me, Jen. Thank you, RTP Jen, and all mods, especially travel. Have a wonderful, safe weekend, family. Touch that grass.
So documents that the DOJ has disclosed to Congress under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, there is credible evidence that Donald Trump committed a crime.
Help finish me off.
And that, of course, excludes the nearly 3 million pages that the DOJ is refusing to turn over. Donald Trump is mentioned thousands of times in the Epstein files. There are multiple allegations that he sexually assaulted young girls. But I want to focus on one victim's allegations that the FBI unquestionably found to be credible. The DOJ tried to hide reports of 3 of the 4 interviews that this victim gave to the FBI, but pressure from the media and Congress forced them to disclose them.
Chuck, what is the evidence? 4 different sworn testimonies from the same person at different times that line up together, and they seem to line up with other facts. So there's plenty that the FBI found credible about this person's testimony.
And now we know why. She credibly accuses Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her when she was between 13 and 15.
No, good try, Chuck. Chuck, we're talking about Trump right now. So Bill Clinton was a president in the 90s. And then after Bill Clinton, you had George Bush, and then you had Obama, and then you had Trump. And part of this story is Trump, and then you had Biden, and then Trump. So you're just mixing it up. We're talking about the current president, Chuck. And the current president is Trump. And so that's who he's talking about right now. It's easy to do. I know sometimes we forget which president is which, but try and help you out there.
In each of her interviews, this victim recited the same account of her interaction with Donald Trump.
Chuck, don't lie about victims while you're here, okay? Just because you love Donald Trump doesn't mean you now get to lie about what the FBI said about victims. You're mixing up a different person. Please don't lie about Jane Doe number 4 here. We're not going to do that. We're not going to smear victims with made-up stories, okay?
On August 7th, 2019, she explained that she was between 13 and 15 when she was left alone with Donald Trump, who, quote, mentioned something to the effect of, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." Trump unzipped his pants.
Sorry. Trigger warning. There's going to be a lot of like graphic stuff here. We're probably going to lose TikTok while this happens. Maybe forever, but I'm not going to censor it. If it can be said on the House floor, then it can be said on this live.
And put her head down, quote, down to his penis, bit the S out of it. Trump struck the victim and said words to the effect of, "Get this little B the hell out of here." The victim advised that she bit Trump's penis because he disgusted her. She provided some additional details in the next interview 2 weeks later, and then a month later, she met again with the FBI and asked, quote, what the point would be of providing the information at this point in her life when there was a strong possibility nothing could be done about it. She didn't speak to the FBI again. But the FBI certainly found her story credible. In a 21-page PowerPoint presentation that the FBI made to prosecutors, they included this victim's testimony. They would not have done so if they did not find the evidence credible, which means that Attorney General Bondi lied when she stated under oath that there is no evidence that Donald Trump committed a crime. But we're just scratching the surface, because the Epstein files also...
Again, it doesn't matter if you believe these allegations or not. That is a lie by Pam Bondi. Not all evidence turns out to be credible. But if by saying there is no evidence that he committed a crime, that is a lie. It doesn't matter what you think of this accusation. She needed to tell the truth there, which nobody in the Republican Party is allowed to do. You're not even allowed to bring up the accusation.
Reveal that Donald Trump has made false statements over the past quarter century about Jeffrey Epstein. We know in 2002 he called him a terrific guy and said, quote, "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." In a birthday card 2003 that Donald Trump gave to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday, Donald wrote for himself that we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Enigmas never aged. Have you noticed that?
Justice.gov/Epstein, Glenda, is where you can find these files.
A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret. But in that same year, Palm Beach County opened an investigation into Epstein that eventually was turned over to the FBI. The investigation became public in 2006, and the Palm Beach County police chief received a call quickly after from Donald Trump, where Trump told him, "Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this."
Now, for the Republicans that are here, the story that you've been told, if you don't watch over here, the story that you've been told is that Donald Trump ratted on Jeffrey Epstein and worked with the Palm Beach Police Department to stop Jeffrey Epstein. That is a lie. Mike Johnson has repeated that lie. I don't think Donald Trump has ever told that lie publicly. I don't think Trump has ever said that he did that. I don't know where this originated from. I have no idea because I haven't heard Trump say it, but it's not true. In fact, this is very incriminating. This is the opposite of exonerating Trump. This is Trump. And by the way, this testimony also unverified. This is somebody else's reporting. We don't have a recording of this call, so this is also unverified. But Trump and his team and the Republicans have run with it. What this says is that Donald Trump knew that Epstein was going after underage girls. Everybody knew about it, and finally, the police helped. But Donald Trump, during this time, was sending girls from Mar-a-Lago to Epstein. Leading up to this, he was partying with them. So this story and the story of Epstein being kicked out of Mar-a-Lago, both are made up. There is absolutely no evidence to back up either of those stories. And Trump himself has not uttered those words. He has never made that claim. And as dumb as I think Donald Trump is, I think there's a reason for that. I think that, one, he knows he didn't help. And two, he knows he didn't kick him out of Mar-a-Lago. He lets other people say it. He's allowed that story to go uncorrected. But you can't find me an instance of Donald Trump making those claims.
What innocent person calls the police chief?
Shannon, I just did it. This is the fucking thing. He called the police to tell them, good job. We all knew what he was doing after the police arrested him. Good Lord, you guys. Listen, Shannon, I need you to say, Shannon, I need a thumbs up if you understand Trump didn't rat out Epstein. We'll move this back. You can listen to the whole thing because I interrupted. But listen to what it says. It does not say that he called and ratted out Epstein. Read it.
Thank goodness you're stopping him. Everyone has known he's been doing this. What innocent person calls the police chief about an investigation upon just learning about it? The recent documents also show that Jeffrey Epstein emailed Ghislaine Maxwell and said, quote, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Redacted victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned.
So this is Epstein talking to Ghislaine. So we know the Jane Doe number 4 is who they're talking about, made these claims. Here's Epstein long before any of this stuff came out, talking to Ghislaine, saying Trump was with her for hours at a time at my house. So this is Epstein at the very, maybe not confirming the sexual abuse, but saying, yeah, Trump was with her at my house. Why is Trump with a between 13 and 15-year-old girl alone at Epstein's house? Would any of you grown men be alone with a 13 to 15-year-old girl for hours at a time at somebody else's house? I sure as shit wouldn't.
Trump also denied that he ever went on Epstein's plane. But of course, the Southern District of New York said that he was on his plane 8 times, often with young women. The reason why this matters
So we're going to believe the criminals and the Democrats now? Just a reminder that Donald Trump is a criminal, and most of his life, including during this time period, he was a Democrat. So you have already chosen to believe the criminals and the Democrats.
Because we don't have half of the Epstein files. And if the Attorney General is covering this up in such a degree that she is redacting things from Congress, that she then redacting things from the public that she then shows to Congress, what else is she covering up? And I would just show that this document here was redacted to the public, it was unredacted to Congress, and it completely disputes everything that Donald Trump has said about Jeffrey Epstein, about what...
There's a MAGA's just panicking. Todd, just stop with this shit. Stop it. If they aren't going to prosecute Bill Clinton, they ain't got anything. They're not prosecuting anybody. The Department of Justice is doing nothing. They didn't even bring in Bill Clinton. Why did the Department of Justice not interview Bill Clinton? They're doing absolutely nothing. Is that what the position now of the Republicans, that Jeffrey Epstein was the only one involved here? Nobody else was involved. It was just Jeffrey doing this on his own. Have you guys evolved your position to that now? Actually, on second thought, after a decade of conspiracy theories and Pizzagate, we've now concluded that Jeffrey Epstein acted alone and had no accomplices. There was no black book. There was no list. There was no abuse island. It was just Jeffrey Epstein a handful of times getting out of line. We've changed our minds completely. Just now that Donald Trump is being included, we no longer believe it.
He knew about the allegations, about his disgusting behavior, about whether he'd ever been to Jeffrey Epstein's house, saying, I may have been there with my wife. Asked if any young girls were there. No. He may have had children of guests, but that's it. Well, we know that's not the case. Now, why is this important? Because if the Attorney General is covering up this information that she then reveals to Congress, what else is she covering up about Donald Trump's involvement in the Epstein files?
I'm on the list. Let's see. How old was I at this time? When Epstein went down, I was it 2006? Is that when he went down? Yeah, I was 19 years old for sure. 19-year-old Mormon kid for sure. I was on that list. Yeah. You can look for my name. You can search my name. You can go ahead and look it up there. See if I'm in the files.
I yield back.
Have these been found credible? They won't investigate. Trailer. How would you find them to be credible? Trailer Shift. How would you discover if they were credible or not? You'd investigate, right? Why aren't they investigating? But this is why I say, like, I don't want MAGA men around my child ever. You would never, if this was my child, you just would call her a liar. You think this many kids just lied because they knew in 2016 Trump would be elected president? They just all lied about this for decades, just in case Trump became president as a Republican, so that they could smear him. Is that what you guys think happened? This is the world's dumbest conspiracy that you guys have like put yourself in. These files are decades years old. Her testimony is decades years old, and they found like it lines up. There's corroborating evidence. So is that to say that it's absolutely true? No, but there's corroborating evidence. So why is the Department of Justice and the FBI not investigating this? Oh, I wonder if it's because the person they are investigating is their fucking boss. That couldn't be it. No. That definitely couldn't be it. I agree with you, okay? Like, maggots are the dumbest political group ever. Why aren't they going after Clinton? I don't know. Why aren't they going after Clinton? Why aren't we looking into Prince Andrew? Why aren't we looking into Reid Hoffman? Why aren't we looking into Bill Gates? How come none of the Democrats that are listed in the Epstein files are being investigated? How come when they talk to Les Wexner, the guy who Jeffrey Epstein just like managed his fortune for no fucking reason, how come when they went and they deposed Les Wexner, the Republicans didn't even show up? You're asking the right questions, but when you get the answer, you quit because it's not an answer that you're comfortable with. Thank you, Howard Lutnick. How come Howard Lutnick lied in front of Congress about his connections with Epstein? He said, I went to his house one time for 5 minutes, and he showed me his massage table, and my wife and I looked at each other, and we left. And on our way back to our house, which apparently we bought for $11, don't ask me about that. Don't ask me how I bought my house from the Epsteins for $11. But on our way back, we looked deeply into each other's eyes and we said, we will never step foot in that house again until Christmas. And then we're gonna fly to his fucking island with our kids and we're gonna spend Christmas with him. And some fundraiser. We're gonna do some fundraisers with him. Yeah. Oh, and he's gonna give us money for his fundraisers too. Nothing. And then you guys just left Howard Lutnick there. He's just still there working for the Trump administration. If Donald Trump was not in those files, he would have fired Lutnick. Anybody would have fired Lutnick. He lied in front of Congress about his connections to the world's most notorious pedophile, and he still fucking works there. And the guy that gave Epstein the sweetheart deal, you know, the guy that we all agree was dog shit, Alex Acosta. It's like, how come Epstein was able to go home every day? He didn't have to go to prison. He just stayed in a county jail, and every day he got to go home. And while he was home, there was no supervision, so he just kept abusing girls while he was home every day during his prison sentence. How come that U.S. attorney gave him such a sweetheart deal? I don't know. That guy must be a bad guy. Since he's such a bad guy, let's have him work for the Trump administration. Let's have him be, what was he, labor? Is that what they brought him in? Was it labor secretary? How come Trump hired him? The amount of hoops you have to jump through to pretend that Donald Trump isn't implicated all over and that he hasn't perpetrated a cover-up is pathetic. Like, even if we give Pam Bondi best case scenario here, like what's the best light we can look into into Pam Bondi? She has not released all the files. She had a deadline of a month to release all the files. She didn't get it done. We're still missing, they say 200,000 pages. We're missing like 4 years worth of files. No investigation in New Mexico. No investigation in Palm Beach. No investigation in New York. No investigation to any of these people that have perjured themselves, lying before Congress. No investigations at all. Just, we're not going to do anything about this. What is the best light we can view Pam Bondi in, Republicans? What's the best thing we could say? Like, what excuse does she have? For doing nothing? Are you really willing to you're just ready to abandon this because Trump is implicated, so now you don't want justice at all? You don't want answers at all? You've just decided, Trump's implicated, so now we don't care about anything. I know when you talk to, like, it's easier when you're talking to Democrats because you're like, well, the Democrats didn't do anything either. Okay, fine. But why is Pam Bondi doing literally nothing? Why won't she meet with the victims? The victims are begging her, can you meet with us, please? Nah. What's the explanation for that, Republicans? Trailer shift. Good, fair enough question. Is it about the victims in the Epstein files, or is it only about Trump? It only seems to be about Trump. What are you talking about? How many names did I just name that weren't Trump? It's not just Trump. Pam Bondi's investigating no one. And I want to know why you guys are so comfortable with this. Why are you looking like it's only about Trump for you? You don't seem to care about anything but Trump. How many names did I just name one of the names I just named there, Trailer Shift? Do you not remember? Like, did I not just bring up Les Wexner? Did I not bring up Reid Hoffman? Did I not bring up Bill Gates? Did I not bring up Bill Clinton? Did I not bring up Prince Andrew? Those are all Democrats, by the way. I chose those people on purpose. Why aren't they being investigated? Why are you guys comfortable? Trailer, I want to know why you're comfortable with this. Why are you not shouting from the rooftops that Pam Bondi do her fucking job? And I think if you're honest with yourself, you'll say, it's because I really don't I don't want to give it legitimacy because then I have to give legitimacy to the claims that Trump might also be part of this. And I'm not ready to admit that to myself. And I think that's where we're at. And until Republicans put pressure on Bondi, there's not a lot we can do. Like, she's going to be impeached. She's going to be removed because Democrats are going to win the midterms. And the Republicans probably won't vote for it. And at that point, then maybe if it's clear that they're going to have the votes to impeach her, then you'll see Republicans do what they did when they finally agreed to sign the discharge petition. They'll all sign it because it would be political suicide not to have your name attached as a no vote when you know it's going to pass. But for you folks here in the audience, I don't get what you're doing. I don't get why you're pretending that this Justice Department isn't covering this up. If you don't want to link them to Trump and you want to say that they're rogue on their own, at least that's something. I don't buy that shit, but it would be nice if you guys would just at least admit that they're not doing anything. Why would they lock themselves up? That's a good point. That's a good point. All right. And then here's what we have. I looked for a lot of different places. There's been a lot to get a breakdown here. Admittedly, I try not to show like MSNBC or MS Now because I think that people immediately dismiss it. I just want you to know that I looked at Fox News. I looked at independent journalists. This is the most like comprehensive and concise breakdown I could get that wasn't an hour long of what we saw yesterday. So yesterday, Epstein's lawyer, Darren Indyke, testified before the Oversight Committee. And there's a lot of stuff that came out, and Melber will explain that. But one of the things that's fairly alarming is that he lied about things that are obvious. He obviously lied. And or maybe he did it on purpose. I don't know, because it was really, really sloppy the way that he testified. We haven't seen it yet, but confirmed by both sides. Some of his testimony like directly contradicts itself, which then gives everybody in Congress the ability to take the two sides of what he said and then investigate it. And I think there's a real chance that he did that on purpose, that he let it slip and there's like, well, that's not actually what I meant. Because now everybody's aware that his first response was different than his second response, and so now they get to investigate it, and he gets to say, "I didn't break attorney-client privilege. I misspoke," and now they're investigating.
Going on with the Epstein probe in Congress, and what Democrats say are
Democrats did release the files. Do you want to see the vote? How many Democrats didn't vote for the release of the Epstein files? The discharge petition was Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. And 100% of Democrats voted for it. And at first, there was only like 5 or 6 Republicans who voted for it. You don't get to say that. You guys, again, you're hiding behind partisan politics. These are children who were abused. Why are you playing party politics? Even if that wasn't true, who the fuck cares? Why can't you set aside your politics for 2 seconds to worry about the victims that were sex trafficked, whose lives were ruined? And at the same time, understanding that this has shown a power structure and a justice system that benefits you if you are wealthy and connected. This is potentially bringing down the deep state, a global world order, and protecting victims at the same time. And your only response to that is, well, Democrats. That's sad. These are real victims, and I don't give a fuck. Again, I've named Donald Trump and only Democrats today. I do not care who gets taken down. I don't know why you guys are playing politics.
Evasions by the Trump DOJ. Democrats say the Attorney General may be trying to evade a
Namaste, send that to me, will you?
Lawful subpoena forcing her to testify on this because she's been dodging. The House Oversight Chairman Comer appears to be backing Bondi, although he was a part of the committee pursuing the subpoena, but now we're talking about what it means to really comply. He does say yesterday's briefing would not replace, of course, the public process of testifying under oath.
Thank you, Tana said, trying to finish up that gift goal. Oh, I missed that too. Sorry, Ryan said to help finish Jay off. Cam said, I got to say the colors of the hat make you look pretty smart. Thank you. Oh, Seahawks, fuck you. Never mind.
There's also testimony coming in from Epstein's longtime lawyer who told Congress he just didn't know about Epstein's wrongdoing. Now, people are entitled to a lawyer,
Thanks,
a criminal
Joe.
defense lawyer, but there are larger questions here. There are documents suggesting the facilitation of payments to women, as well as directing witnesses to avoid law enforcement. And so, while no one should be denied a lawyer, even if you face the most heinous allegations in the world under U.S. constitutional law.
Okay, so shouldn't we be investigating that? Darren Indyke, Epstein's attorney, not only helped cover it up, which, he was doing it as an attorney. If he didn't break the law, he's going to be protected, but we should look into this. And he also instructed witnesses, multiple witnesses independently confirmed that he instructed them, as per their NDAs, that they should not talk to the police. Otherwise, they don't get the payout. Now, you can get past those NDAs, by the way. Congress could write a law tomorrow saying that all NDAs related to Epstein are null and void, and you could literally put that into law. Why aren't we doing? I don't know why we're not doing that. You can get past all these NDAs. There's a way to do it.
That does not mean that lawyers can just do anything. And so there are still questions, we've probed some of them, about the people around Epstein and whether they crossed the line into joining in his crimes. Congress is going through the unredacted files. Congressman Goldman yesterday said that one unredacted version of an email, which was heavily blacked out, raises questions, that it contradicts some of Trump's defenses about why he ever broke ties with Epstein.
This document here was redacted to the public. It was unredacted to Congress, and it completely disputes everything that Donald Trump has said about Jeffrey Epstein, about what he knew about the allegations, about his disgusting behavior. As if the Attorney General is covering up this information,
don't blow it at
that she
Desert
then
Flame.
reveals to Congress, What else
Thanks, Alfredo.
is she covering up about Donald Trump's involvement?
This is active. The pressure and the evidence is pouring out as we speak. That was, of course, just yesterday, middle of this week. The Daily Beast reports about that same email that it would suggest Epstein maybe was never even asked to leave Trump's club, and that Trump may have been on Epstein's plane and at his home. Now, to be clear, this is an email out of the larger tranche of files. MS now hasn't confirmed the underlying validity of those documents. Trump hasn't been accused of criminal wrongdoing related to those documents. But even if they simply show that Trump has been lying for years about why he broke up his friendship with Epstein, that is a matter of major public interest. Now, Congress is doing some of this work, however delayed. Today, the Epstein lawyer, Darren Indyke, was being grilled. He's one of the two key lawyers for Epstein. Now, as I mentioned, they say they were just doing their jobs. Other people question whether they took a role as lawyer and turned it into fixer or worse, or ever knowledgeably, knowingly got involved in the criminal scheme. And facilitating payments that you know are for breaking the law is different than, for example, providing someone legal defense. Now, take reporting about one of them, Richard Kahn. He was a longtime accountant. Now, Congress.
Sorry, if you're not paying attention, I'm just stopping it right here for 1 second. I'm going to go back. This is the story that we need to follow now. Because this potentially, depending on what we can get out of this, if what he said the first time is true, and he'll get to the claim here, then this could break the whole story. And this could get us to a point where we finally have some clarity, especially when it comes to Donald Trump. It's going to be difficult to get that clarity. But with this testimony, if Congress does their job and investigates, because Pam Bondi won't, I think we get down to whether or not Donald Trump did something.
Now, take reporting about one of them, Richard Kahn. He was a longtime accountant.
Thanks, Prof.
Now, Congress grilled him as well. He was previously questioned by the FBI about the contents of this safe. Take a good look, because the BBC has reported, based again on a lot of the new information we're getting, that when the FBI originally raided Epstein's New York mansion back in 2019, the very day he was arrested, agents...
And who's FBI in 2019 is that? This is Trump's FBI.
Forced open the safe you just saw, and they found valuables like diamonds and cash, but they also found binders of CDs and hard drives. Now, stay with me here, because it gets interesting. There was an issue allegedly with the warrant, and so they didn't leave with all the items. Then they returned with a new warrant. The BBC notes that then the safe had been emptied while they were gone. The FBI documents including...
They didn't secure the scene? And this is like the jail all over again. This is 2019. This is Trump's FBI in 2019. And if you go back and you look at what Trump did with the FBI when he took over, not much. He didn't change a ton. It's not like now where he's replaced the entire FBI with loyalists. So these are people who've been there for a long time, who know what they're doing. Not to say that the FBI itself couldn't be corrupt, and not to say that this isn't potentially corrupt, or even if I want to give Trump the benefit of the doubt, the FBI could certainly do something even if Trump's not guilty and Trump not know about it. So I want to be clear that I'm not blaming this on Trump. The reason I bring up Trump is that when he took over the first time as president, he left James Comey there. And then eventually he fired James Comey over a personal thing. But I think then, was it Chris Wray next? Like, he left career FBI officials in place. He didn't gut the FBI. So at the very least, these people are doing stuff that they know, like is part of their process every time, and they're fucking up repeatedly. Basic stuff. That's why it reeks of a cover-up. This isn't incompetence. This isn't a new FBI director with no experience bringing in his podcaster buddy and not knowing exactly what to do. No, these are career FBI officials that had been left in place who, like, this is what they do. It's what they're great at. The idea that the FBI, one, didn't have the proper warrant when they got there, that's hard to believe, but not impossible to believe. But to leave things unsecured And to allow somebody to come in and remove items from that safe while they were waiting to get a warrant, that's fishy.
The newly released Epstein files give more color to this. Now, Khan then told the mansion staff, pack up 2 suitcases with the contents of that safe that he was going to take to his home, according to the FBI. That could allegedly include things like CDs and hard drives, which makes you wonder, what did this sex trafficker want with CDs in his safe? After the FBI spoke to Khan's then lawyer, he agreed to hand over those suitcases, allegedly untouched. He didn't want agents coming to his house, though, and declined to say who told him to remove the items. This is when your accountants need accountants and your lawyers need lawyers. Khan's lawyer telling the BBC his client did cooperate with the FBI, and that is BBC's reporting. We haven't.
If you're the FBI and the lawyer took those from the safe, won't tell you who instructed them to take them, won't tell you exactly what was taken, and says, I'll turn them over, but you can't raid my house, why would you agree to that? Why on earth would you agree to just do a handover without checking the house, make sure you got everything? Is it incompetence? Are they in on the cover-up? Our FBI is not this incompetent. I have a hard time believing that they fucked up like through incompetence here.
Independently gotten additional information, but
get rid of Pat for the rest of the day. Shut the fuck up, Pat. Nobody's. I'm sorry that I'm worried about people being trafficked. You can get out of here today. You say cry harder 50 times a day. Go see if you can get your dick hard staring at Trump, and maybe you won't shoot a blank.
These are all the questions that, with the new files, really make you wonder why the DOJ seemed to operate this way. Why was evidence allowed to be removed from the safe? Did they confirm they got all the right CDs? Why didn't they pursue these leads more?
Mods, please feel free, now that we're talking about Epstein and victims, please feel free to mute anybody 5 minutes at a time who is talking about any subject outside of the Epstein files.
Part of this story, of course, seems to continue to revolve around the politics and the pressure and the blame game. But another big part of it is still about the victims and the evidence and how long it took to get any kind of justice, and why, even when you had an FBI warrant, you could go in, take stuff out of that safe, and then return it on your good word and promise a little later on.
Will you commit to complying with that subpoena and appearing for a closed-door deposition?
I made it crystal clear I will follow the law.
But does that mean you will? Does that mean?
I don't think I could hate a person more than Pam Bondi. I've made it crystal clear, and then doesn't answer the question. Are you going to comply with the subpoena? I've made it crystal clear I will comply with the law. But Republicans don't comply with congressional subpoenas. Democrats do. It's one of the few things you could say like separates them. They show up when they're subpoenaed, not Republicans. Republicans just don't show up when they're subpoenaed because they know that nothing will happen as long as they're in power. And I think it gives it away, the fact that she answers the question and immediately looks away, no follow-up.
Here, I will follow the law.
But does that mean you will? Does that mean you will appear?
We sat there saying, anything you want to ask us, anything you want to ask us.
Not under oath, by the way. Not on video, not transcribed, not under oath. Who the fuck cares that you said, you can ask us anything? So? We can't ever prove anything you said.
And they screamed C-SPAN wasn't there, one of them, and then they stormed out of the meeting.
Because C-SPAN's supposed to be there to record these things. That's why. You're supposed to have a record. But James Comer, for some reason, set up a meeting where nobody's under oath. There's no transcription. There's no video. There's no record of the conversations at all.
That's the Attorney General's take on this clash over whether she will follow the subpoena to testify under oath in public. She says C-SPAN, like it's a dirty word, it's actually part of how congressional hearings are broadcast.
Yeah, that is why she did it. The reason that she did it that way, and this is a guess because she's obviously not going to tell us, but what I think is going to happen is I think that she is going to either one, not comply with the subpoena, or two, when she complies with the subpoena, she's going to show up and claim some sort of national security or executive privilege and not answer any questions. But this was the setup. So they want this out there. They want the narrative out there going in. They're poisoning the well so that when she either shows up for the subpoena or refuses to show up for the subpoena, they will lean back on this day and they will be like, you know what? We were going to play ball until that happened. And then they didn't even want to talk to us unless they were in front of a camera. So this is all theatrics. It's all a show. We have a job to do. We have to protect the American people. So we're not going to show up for the subpoena. And the reason that they can get away with that is because MAGA supporters will let them. They'll just repeat that shit over and over. It's going to be some element of that when it comes time to comply with the subpoena. Either she won't answer anything, or they'll claim that we don't trust them, and we're not going to be part of this theater, so we're not going to show up.
For every agency, we're joined now by attorney Nancy Erica Smith. She has done civil rights.
RTP, real question, is there any Republican you would vote for? Is there a good one? I mean, it would depend who they were running against, right? Like, if somebody more aligned, I don't think there's a Republican that it would align with what I want. But if it was just like, so let's say if it was Thomas Massie versus Chuck Schumer, I would vote for Thomas Massie. There's like a scenario where I could find myself voting for a Republican, yes, but that's hard because like ideologically we're not aligned. But there are Republicans that I respect. I told this story last week, but I ran into Jeff Flake the other day, who was a former Republican senator, and he basically got run out of office because he wanted to hear about I think it was about the Russia investigation. I don't remember if it was Ukraine or Russia, and he just voted to like get the information, which Republicans aren't allowed to do. So I respect Jeff Flake. I respect Thomas Massie. I really actually liked a lot a guy named Justin Amash who got run out of Congress. So yeah, there's a scenario where I would vote for Republicans, but I think I'd be hard pressed to live in a place where that scenario could come up. But yeah, maybe.
It's work and represented numerous victims of workplace harassment and sexual assault. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Let's start with what sounds like a very unusual situation with Epstein's former lawyer and accountant. Mm-hmm. Congress is finally taking this testimony. I walked through some of the odd scenarios, including that safe. We can put the photo back up. Your view of all that?
Well, the FBI has never been great on sexism. I mean, the FBI has been sued for sexism.
They've been great at it.
Misogyny many, many times. So I think that the FBI, in this case, certainly decided to protect the powerful and the connected, and women and young girls just didn't matter, because it's outrageous that they left the safe and somebody was able to take stuff out of it, bring it to his home, and then they didn't show up to the home with a warrant. For the whole house. I mean, they wouldn't. What do you mean he wouldn't let the FBI in the house? It's all absurd.
And when you're dealing with someone like Epstein and you find out that he has CDs and hard drives, and you know that he has a surveillance system, and you know now from the files that were released that he would talk to people about, let me get the records of this and the email of that and prove where people were. What other questions does that raise in a competent probe of what's on the CDs?
Yeah, in a competent probe.
Yeah, microbe. Imagine being on the same side as Raskin, Schiff, Blumenthal, and Schumer. Well, we know I don't like Chuck Schumer, so I'm not on the side of Chuck Schumer. Certainly have issues with Blumenthal. I have some issues with Schiff. I don't know if I have any issues with Raskin that I can think of off the top of my head. But you know what? None of those people, you know what they all have in common? They're not accused of sexually assaulting children in the Epstein files. They're not with Epstein in pictures. They weren't partying with Epstein. Imagine being on the side of Donald Trump while we're talking about the Epstein files and trying to bring in Raskin, Schumer, Blumenthal, and whoever else you put in there. That's crazy. Yeah, I know you don't like their politics. I don't like some of their politics too, but I'll take all of them over an adjudicated rapist.
Well, many of the young victims have said that he videoed them. So and there's certainly some evidence in the files that he was blackmailing people, that he would say things like, well, I would never tell your secrets. Well, that's a way of saying, maybe I'll tell your secrets. So the CDs, they may have settlement agreements. They may have legal documents. They may have information about the numerous shell corporations. It says that the investigation was never serious from the time
OCD, sorry, I didn't see this one. I got a call yesterday from someone asking if they get a discount for being part of the RTP community. Of course, I said yes. I'm not hard to find. I have a website. All right. Well, look, if I saw your website, which I think I did, I didn't recognize your name from my mission service, my Mormon mission, and I thought that maybe that's what you were referencing. So I don't know.
That it was dismantled, and he got a sweetheart deal in Florida right up until the time he died.
And so everyone's entitled to a lawyer. And, you know, when people hear us say that, I mean that. There's some people in this country who
First, we probably got Mossad agents in the FBI. Probably. We certainly do.
care about the constitutional rule of law.
What's going on here? My internet
in
getting
this
shitty?
country under the Constitution.
Right.
But you don't get a fixer or a co-conspirator or a mob lawyer who's a criminal. There is a difference there. And so I don't want to be misheard as impugning anyone's right to counsel. But Mr. Indyke says to Congress, now that these questions late are being asked, he says to explain all this money stuff. Mr. Epstein, quote, had difficulty accessing credit cards from banks. He required cash to pay for expenses like maintenance, repairs, and daily household needs.
Oh, I
Meals,
said the
gifts,
words. I said Mossad and the internet glitch. That might be it.
gratuities, and fuel for his private aircraft. Is this a valid and competent defense for a sophisticated attorney, or did he know?
This is the same, by the way, the same argument that the Trumps are using for why they have to run crypto scams. The banks were not very friendly towards us, so we had to run a scam. Yeah, this is what all criminals say when they get caught trying to hide their transactions using either cash or gold or crypto. Well, it's because the banks were picking on me. I had no other choice. Every criminal in history who has tried to avoid banks that wound up getting caught has used some form of this argument.
Or should he have known that the amount of cash in shell corporations and other activities suggested future misuse of funds for sex trafficking?
Yeah, well, I think it's highly unlikely that he didn't know. It's highly unlikely. I don't have the facts. But we do know that Khan, Epstein's accountant, testified that the Epstein estate settled with Jane Doe number 4, a very important Jane Doe. Jane Doe number 4.
Okay, so Jane Doe number 4 is the person who has accused both Epstein and Trump of sexual abuse. So the Epstein estate there's a settlement there. If there's nothing there, why would they settle, right? If there's no evidence, why would they settle? So that super important that 1, Jane Doe number 4 was found credible by the FBI, and 2, the Epstein estate settled and gave, I assume, gave an NDA because whatever she was saying, they didn't want publicly. Enough that they paid for her silence.
Files were hidden until Trump bombed Iran and changed the subject. Jane Doe's number 4 files were only found missing because of the Maxwell discovery. And people noticed that Bates stamps, numbers that lawyers use to identify documents, were missing. So we get, finally, right after bombing Iran, we get the Jane Doe number 4 files. Now, lying to the FBI is a crime. Martha Stewart went to jail for it. All people interviewed by the FBI are told that. Jane Doe number 4 alleged to the FBI that Epstein abused her when she was 13 and that Trump abused her when she was 15.
Okay, so we can't discount this person. That's not, you don't have to accept that what she said about Trump is true, but you cannot discount her. And where is the investigation? Why is Pam Bondi not investigating? This is obviously somebody credible. No investigation? Couldn't be because Trump's her boss, though, right? It's got to be something else. What other excuse would we have for why there would be no investigation here?
Khan, Epstein's accountant, testified that the Epstein estate settled with Jane Doe number 4 for both Epstein and Trump.
Now, there was the fuck up. This is the part that I think he did on purpose. So Khan is the co-executor of the Epstein estate. His name is Richard Khan. He's the co-executor with Darren Indyke, who was Epstein's lawyer. Fun fact about Darren Indyke: he worked for the Parlator law group. If you think that name sounds familiar, that's one of Trump's lawyers, Tim Parlatore. And he worked with them from 2022 to 2025. That's Trump's personal attorney. And then Richard Khan, who's the co-executor, said, we worked out a settlement not only for Epstein and Jane Doe number 4, but also for Trump and Jane Doe number 4. Yes, Khan, K-A-H-N.
His lawyer tried to walk that back. Indyke refused to confirm or deny that. Now, how do we get to the bottom of that?
Okay, so initially, just to cover it, so initially, Khan told the committee that the Epstein estate reached a settlement with Jane Doe number 4, the accuser, with both Epstein and Trump. And then later, in the same deposition, Khan's attorney, not Khan, but Khan's attorney, recanted it and said that his prior remark was mistaken, that they did not recognize the name, and the claim then was denied with no, and that the claim was denied with no settlement reached. Well, now we've got a problem because there was a settlement between Epstein and Jane Doe number 4. So how did they get that name right with Jane Doe number 4 with Epstein, but then that name wasn't right with Trump? The next day, Daniel Razuma, who again is Khan's attorney, changed his story again. So we have Khan saying, yes, we arranged this. Then Khan's attorney saying, no, we didn't, we're mistaken. Then the next day, he said, I can neither confirm nor deny it. So 3 different stories from Khan and his attorney within the course of 24 hours. And again, I think the reason that they did that is because they like that ambiguity. They feel like they're protected in the lawyer-client privilege there of saying, like, give all 3 answers. I misspoke. Because if it ever comes back to, like, we're going to strip you of your license, this is misconduct. It's like, no, I misspoke. Look, we corrected it. We said we didn't really. And then they said we can neither confirm to deny or deny. And then when they ask the attorney about that, he'll say, well, yeah, I'm not going to confirm or deny. I'm done commenting on this. I don't want to add fodder. These people are way too smart to fuck up that bad.
Congress passes a law invalidating all NDAs from the Trump or the Trump organization, from Epstein, any of his entities.
That's a good point, Ross Ferratu. We may have just found out what the imminent threat Netanyahu told Trump was about.
The estate or based on any activities at the Epstein properties. Let's have the truth. We want the truth, no NDAs.
It's pretty obvious at this point. You really have to have your head buried in the sand to look at this in any other way other than cover up. I don't know what they're covering up exactly. I don't want to make that, I don't want to overstep, but obviously they're covering up something, or they just don't want to talk about it. I want to show you just a couple of reactions from the Darren Indyke deposition yesterday. These are oversight Democrats. First, Dave Min.
To ask a few different lines of questions earlier with Mr. Indyke. And I have to say I'm very surprised that he did not take the Fifth Amendment. I think it's very likely he perjured himself over and over and over again. And just to give you a few examples, I'm not going to go into detail, but he claimed, and I think this is in the statement you all received, that he had no knowledge of any women or girls, and yet that doesn't account for the fact that numerous women have described how he helped them fix their problems. One woman had described how he had helped her get an apartment. He helped women with their immigration issues. He reportedly told a number of women not to talk to police when the police started investigating Epstein. It's just not credible to claim that you had no knowledge of what was happening.
Again, is this guy a fucking idiot? Is Indyke just fucking stupid? He's admitting that this is what he did. He's like, I'm a fixer. I'm the one that made this shit go away. Oh, and then I'm going to accidentally misspeak. I really think that this is a person who is trying to get information across to the Oversight Committee.
Asked, among other things, about the $725,000 that he withdrew in cash at the maximum level of $7,500 per withdrawal. That doesn't trigger federal reporting. He couldn't describe what that was for, just kind of, again, claim no knowledge and don't want to get into the details. You'll read the transcript, but this is just not credible.
All right. Then James Walkinshaw from Virginia.
Virginia's 11th District. Look, Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation would not have been possible without Mr. Indyke's services. Legal services, yes, but as we heard today and has been reported, he was a personal fixer for Jeffrey Epstein, fixing any problem that existed in his life. And
you know who doesn't have personal fixers? People who aren't guilty. People who aren't criminals. What's Michael Cohen up to? It's time we bring Michael Cohen back. I heard he's doing a podcast with Laura Loomer now. I don't think enough people have heard from Michael Cohen under oath about what he did for Donald Trump.
He would have us believe, much like President Trump, that despite the long and in-depth relationship that he had with Mr. Epstein for 23 years, that he saw no evil or heard no evil about the crimes that were being committed. Personally,
but also created settlements. So I didn't hear any evil. I was just settling with these women who accused him for what?
After 2 hours of hearing that, I find it very hard to believe. He claims they had no personal friendship or relationship and it was all business. Yet, we know that Jeffrey Epstein paid Mr. Indyke nearly $45 million over the time that he worked for him. On top of that, Epstein's will leaves Indyke $50 million. Hard to believe.
By the way, what I said about Cohen and Laura Loomer, I saw a tweet about that. I have no idea if that's true, just to be clear. I know he was on Midas Touch, but I saw a tweet, so I have no idea if that's true or not.
They didn't have a personal relationship or friendship when he was paid $95 million for legal services. I don't buy it. This cover-up needs to end. Attorney General Bondi needs to follow the law. She said she'll follow the law. The law is clear. Comply with the subpoena. Show up on April 14th. Answer questions under oath.
I don't think it's that weird that he walked his way into a job with Midas Touch. Midas Touch clearly has an agenda, and Michael Cohen was a good person for them to have. They probably thought it added credibility to their what they call pro-democracy. Let me skip this one, actually, because he just covered that. But really, Michael Cohen was on Midas Touch to talk shit about Trump. That was the only reason he was there. All right, now this. I want to show you, again, for some reason, Pam Bondi rarely speaks anymore. Now, this is Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon. And here's she's just going to say, like, she's telling the truth here. Like, we are not going to show you guys everything.
Is next? Is there another tranche? Is the DOJ?
I'm not a fan of Michael Cohen. I've never been a fan of Michael Cohen. I didn't like when he, I don't know. I didn't like when he was on TikTok. I didn't like the way that a bunch of Democrats embraced him. Some people that we know. I read Michael Cohen's book, and it was a lot, to me, it was a lot like watching Wolf of Wall Street. I think I talked about that the other day, where like I read his book. I thought the book was good. I didn't come out of that book going, Michael Cohen's a good guy. I came out of that book going, oh shit, like he's a scumbag. He always was a scumbag. He was Donald Trump's personal fixer. The only reason Michael Cohen ever turned is to save himself. And I'm glad he did it. Like, that was good. But Michael Cohen would have never flipped on Trump. They had him dead to rights. And the only way that he was able to like get a lighter sentence was to be like, yeah, here's what I did. But yeah, Michael Cohen was never the good guy. He was never a hero. And I thought it was kind of gross the way that he was embraced by a lot of Democrats.
Still working on this, or is the DOJ done with the release? What update can you give on that?
Well, the Attorney General gave an update and answered all the questions of the members of
Oh,
the
you meant Midas Touch? Cohen's kind of, I'm not a huge fan of Midas Touch, to be honest. I don't think, can I tell you honestly what I hate about Midas Touch? Go on their YouTube. Go look at their titles. Every fucking one is, it's over. It's done. It's like, I don't view them as, like, I know everybody has a bias, but I don't think that Midas Touch would report honestly if they had to. I think they do good reporting. There's some good people on there. I think they're really smart, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of Midas Touch. I don't have like a huge issue with them, but they're not a source that I would call a go-to source for me.
Oversight Committee, and has also put out public documents, as has Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General. So to be clear, we've released all the documents that we're able to release. There's about 200,000 pages worth of documents that have been withheld for legal privilege reasons. Redactions are to protect victims. There are always, you can ask any trial lawyer in a document production of 3 million pages, there are going to be some errors or some over redactions. Those have all been corrected to our knowledge. And so there's a tip line where victims or their lawyers can reach out and say, oh, this needs to be redacted, or someone can correct an over redaction.
Problem is with what she's saying there is she's saying all this stuff is redacted because it needs to be redacted. But every time Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie go in there, they find stuff that shouldn't be redacted. They get caught every time. And then here's this next clip I want to show because it's just a reminder that this person is not supposed to be political. This person should not be playing political games. This person shouldn't be invoking other people's bias. This person should just be stating facts. That's what the Attorney General is supposed to do. They are supposed to be apolitical. But not this Attorney General's office. This is the same Attorney General's office who decided to show up for a deposition in front of Congress and be like, why aren't you guys talking about the Dow? The Dow's very high. Why are you worried about me doing my job?
3 million pages of documents. We've made ourselves available. And you have to remember that this Epstein stuff goes back to 20 years ago. And so where was all the outrage and where were all the questions during the Biden administration, during the Obama administration? During the Bush administration, where it all started, and where is the credit for President Trump to be the only president to actually prosecute this guy in his first term? And so I think it's time.
Why aren't you giving the president credit? That's the Attorney General. What are we doing here? Do your fucking job. Donald Trump didn't prosecute Jeffrey Epstein. The FBI did. That case was, as she just said, like it had been ongoing for decades. It's not like Trump came in and they prosecuted and Trump was pulling the strings there. Trump gets no credit. If you're giving Trump credit for releasing the files, you're a sucker. He threatened all the Republicans not to vote for the discharge petition. And then they basically told him, like, dude, if we don't vote for this, our constituents are going to murder us. We have to. And then he's like, okay. And then all he's done since then, it appears, is instruct his own DOJ to cover it up. You have to be dumb as a fucking rock to give Donald Trump credit for releasing the Epstein files if you're not going to acknowledge that he's been covering it up, that he threatened everybody who voted for it, that they ran out Marjorie Taylor Greene because she was like, yeah, we're going to vote for this. The only reason any of you hate Thomas Massie is because Thomas Massie wanted the Epstein files released. That's why you hate Massie. So you can't hate Massie for demanding these files be released and then also give Donald Trump credit. Unless, like I said, dumb as a fucking rock. That is like some next level witchcraft that Donald Trump has pulled over all of you. Actually, it was me that wanted them the whole time. Oh, okay. I guess I didn't understand when you told people that you would consider it a hostile threat if they voted for the discharge petition. I guess I misunderstood that part. That's my bad. That is, you like, honestly, are there people here? I'm sure Microbe Joe's probably, Trump's the one that did it.
Time for us people can look at the documents, reach their conclusions, and let us do our jobs here at the Department of Justice.
Do you believe that?
Then do your job, please. Open an investigation, please. Release all the files, please. Stop playing politics, please. Do fucking something, ever, please. See how polite we are? Nobody is standing in the way of you doing your job. No reporter. None of us. We can't stop you from doing your job. We are powerless. Why are you blaming the media for standing in the way of you doing your job? They have no control over your job. You can do your fucking job. Go do your fucking job. Stop blaming everybody but yourselves. It's pathetic, one, that these people exist, and it's even more pathetic that millions of Americans provide them cover to just show up every day and blame the news. Why we can't do our job because the news. Oh. Okay. I didn't know the news could stop you from doing your job. I had no idea. Anyways, I think that's all I had on Epstein. Let me double check real quick. Oh yeah. I wanted to remind you of something. One of the things that she said is you have to remember that this Epstein stuff goes back to 20 years ago. Where was all the outrage during the Biden administration? Where's the credit for President Trump to be the only president to actually prosecute this guy in his first term? I want you to, we'll end on this because I want you to remember that Donald Trump actively, or his administration, his Department of Justice, actively covered up the Epstein investigation, actively covered up his self-unaliving and killed investigations into Epstein. And for that, I bring you Jesse Waters and James Comer, who now are in a position where they have to admit that the Trump administration actively squashed investigations into Epstein in his first term.
Sounds pretty sick if what's been said about it's true. What are you hearing?
Well, I'm glad that the New Mexico authorities are going there and searching that property. I know that if no one searches the property, whenever this investigation is finally concluded, people are always going to have questions about whether or not there were deaths there, whether or not there were mysterious surgeries and things like that happening on the ranch. I don't know, but I do know this. The federal government asked New Mexico to stop their investigation, I believe back in 2019 of.
All right. Who was the federal government in 2019? Trump was the head of the government. So who was the DOJ working under in 2019? That would have been Trump. Didn't she just want us to give credit to Trump? Now watch Jesse Waters, either stupid or trying to provide cover. I'm going to go with both.
That ranch. So there's just so many questions about how the government failed the victims and how government failed in trying to prosecute Epstein sooner. I mean, this whole thing doesn't make sense. Everyone.
Notice how Comer keeps saying the federal government. You're part of the federal government. You were in office, I believe, in 2019. So you're talking about you, but why are you saying the federal government? Whose job is it to investigate? Is it Congress? No. The Department of Justice. So who was it? Is that Bill Barr? Who was the attorney general at that point? Bill Barr? Didn't Bill Barr's dad give Epstein his job, like his first job? Why is he saying federal government? Why are they not talking about Trump right here?
Everyone has conspiracy theories on, how Epstein was able to get away with it. Was it because he had, powerful friends?
Yeah.
Was it because he was an agent? No, we don't know, but we're going to find out. And I'm glad that they're on the ground now in New Mexico searching that property.
Congressman, you said in 2019 the government told New Mexico authorities to stand down investigating the ranch. Do you know what branch of the government?
Jesse Waters gets paid millions of dollars to cover the news. Political news, and he doesn't know that the DOJ is part of the executive branch? What do you mean, do you know?
Hey, James, which branch of the government is the DOJ part of? Do you know? Can we even know? Is it knowable?
Yeah, dude, you've been doing this for years.
It was the Department of Justice, I believe, and I believe
is the executive branch.
It was because they I believe it perhaps was the Southern District of New York because they had taken over the investigation at that point. So again, these are questions that we have. We want to get the answers, but
So if you want the answers to why the Department of Justice squashed this, why aren't you calling in Bill Barr? Why'd you call in the Clintons? Where's Bill Barr? We're going to get to the bottom of this. How? Fuck, I don't know. Who could we call in? Could we call in Bill Barr? Could we call in, I think it was Chris Wray at the time? No, we can't do that. Why? Because, people might connect that to Trump. If you're trying to get to the bottom of it, somebody want to explain to me why we don't have Bill Barr?
I will say publicly, I'm glad that the New Mexico authorities are on the ground searching that property. I don't know if there's anything there. I don't think anybody knows. But I do know this, Jesse. It's probably never been searched before very thoroughly.
That's crazy.
The house probably has, but the property hasn't.
It hasn't. The house hasn't been it hasn't. And the property hasn't either. And it's because, as you can be mad at me all you want, but that's Oversight Committee Chairman, Republican James Comer, who is admitting that the Trump administration, Trump's DOJ, killed any investigation into Zorro Ranch, despite, by the way, an accusation of 2 murders. 2 people were allegedly murdered there, and the DOJ is like, nah, let's not investigate that. All right. Deborah, thank you very much. Deborah said, was there a message with that? I think so. Draco's Rose. There's only one difference between Drumpf and my mom's sperm donor. Well, two, if you count the job. They were the same age, too. My mom's sperm donor is dead. 7/16/24 is the day that my Drumpf died. Here's to the rest of the gold. WJ, W, Jen, W. So many W's. Mods. Thank you. And I'm glad that abuser's out of your life. I'm happy for you. I think I got that. I think I got them all. All right, guys. It's the weekend. I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend. I'm going to be outside all weekend. I get to see my daughter again on Sunday. She's been out of town on a family trip, so I'm excited for that. You probably won't hear much from me until Monday, but until I see you again, I hope that your weekend is amazing. Thank you guys so much for the support this week, and we hopefully have more stuff on Epstein this coming Monday. We'll talk about Iran. Didn't get to any of that today, but go outside, guys. Touch grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke it. Can't smoke it. Maybe watch videos of grass. I'm not sure. Drink lots of water. Say nice things about yourself. Be kind to your friends and your family. Be kind, most importantly, to yourselves. And we will see you again bright and early Monday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. Monday through Friday, right here, wherever you watched. And until we see you again, stay cute and cool and have a great summer.